and actually we can just leave ourselves unmuted at this point, I guess, and get going. Oh yeah, it's only a minute after the half hour mark, so good. All right.
Oh yeah, no, I showed up early. I left my house like at 6. I'm like, fuck, rush hour traffic. I never really have to deal with this on a weekend. It's the weekend.
Yeah.
But it's a Thursday night. I'm like, fuck, I gotta leave early.
Yeah.
Everything's going that
The
way.
other way,
I'm going
yeah.
this way.
Yeah.
So
Everything's opposite of you. That's what I was like thinking to myself. Like if I was going your direction this time of night, I'd probably have to take 45 minutes to get there. But
yeah,
you coming over here is probably like
I was actually
15.
I was actually like panicked because I got home from work. I got off early today. I got off at 12:30. So I'm like, fuck. I got home and I looked down. And I went, I could stay in my clothes, or I could get my comfy clothes. Comfy clothes. It was 5 hours. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I did that, and then like I glanced down at my watch, and it was 6, and I was like 5:55, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be late. I got here in 15 minutes.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so we are live now. We can go ahead and I'll change the slide over here to number the title here. Yeah, we're gonna get started on roundtable number 77. Hopefully, I know some people are talking on Twitter about joining us in the live chat, so probably have a few people. Yeah. Obviously an odd night. I don't know if we've ever done. I think maybe one time.
Nope.
We've maybe not when we were doing live, but I feel like there was one when news broke and we ended up doing it like on a weird day. Like
we did like a 45-minute show. We're like, oh my god, we got to talk about this.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like Thursday's not a thing that's never been done, but it's certainly not.
It's close
in the normal wheelhouse of like our Fridays is our kind of off one, and then Saturdays are our regular thing. Yeah. So. We've even done some Sundays.
We did quite a few Sundays there for a while because we both had Sunday off.
Yeah. So Thursday's a little bit odd, but let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started on the show proper. And yeah, let's get into roundtable number 77. That's a very good year.
Yes, it is.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed.
Go then. There are other worlds than these.
Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are quartet, one from many. The palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's Magnum Opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for roundtable number 77.
Okay,
we have
what the hell did you do to your head?
Oh, yeah. I got a haircut.
Yeah.
Got my, what is it, ears lowered?
Yeah, you got your ears lowered. That's something to say. For the last 7 years, Tad's had a growth on his head.
Yeah, I've been growing my hair out.
Growing fairly long. He cut it recently.
Yeah.
I walked into the office today and the dude is bald.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could on top. Like it's squeaky.
Like Lex Luthor.
Oh, yeah. He does. Lex Luthor. Evil.
He's a good man, that Lex Luthor.
No. You're freaking me out, dude. I'm not going to get used to this anytime soon.
I will say at work, we have combined some departments. So we had a new department, like makeup that I'm in. And as part of that, they wanted us to do like a personality profile thing and, share everything with everyone. And as I was going through mine, one of the things is like, and this is why this personality type is the basis for a lot of movie villains. I'm like, hey, none of that now. I did indeed. Got a little haircut. Went all the way with the haircut. I'm sick of hair. These 100-and-something degree days are
so hot here in Utah.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, let's be grateful that we don't have humidity.
So I was on the phone today.
Because Travis is in the chat here, and he could probably chime in about humidity.
I had someone today that's like, "Oh, how's the weather where you are?" I'm like, "Oh, it's been upper 90s, triple digits the last like month and a half." And he's like, "Oh yeah, where are you located?" I'm like, "Utah." He's like, "Talk to me when you have humidity." I looked at where he was from, South Carolina. I was like, "Oh,
yeah."
He knows.
Last over like the course of 1 year, I went to Orlando for celebration, then I went to Cancun for a wedding, and those two are both obviously humid areas. And like, no. Like
95-degree weather's bad enough. 95-degree weather with 80% humidity. Oh.
Yeah, like even like Orlando was like April, so I think it was like 50-ish% humidity, which for me still felt like a greenhouse.
Yeah.
But like I remember like one of the Uber drivers was like, "Oh, this is nothing. This is early in the year. You should come back in a couple months." I'm like, no, no, not gonna happen. And then Cancun was obviously bad. I can't even remember if I've told you before, but I tried to smoke a cigar, and it was so freaking humid that the cigar got like spongy and like
you were
wet.
mad.
It ruined the cigar.
You're still mad about that.
Yeah, I mean that's I unfortunately bought the cigar in Utah, so with the 80-something% tax that Utah puts on them, that's probably like a $10, $12 cigar that I paid $18 for, and then it got ruined. So
you still have the line, Mexico owes me one cigar.
yeah, they do. They owe me a nice cigar. No, nice. I mean, relatively. My brand. They owe me one because it was like terrible humidity, and then a storm blew in that afternoon. So I feel like maybe that wasn't normal humidity for them, but it was just like that
extra,
that little bit in front of a storm.
Yeah.
But it was terrible. Not for me. I'm a desert rat.
What the hell? We're talking about the fucking weather. Are we really?
Well, that's why I shaved my head.
It's just, of all the things to be talking about, we're talking about the weather.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. We're going to discuss the weather.
Yeah. Hey.
Sorry, I'm in a weird mood tonight, just to throw that out there. It's my Friday, so usually on Thursday nights, I'm a little bit loopy. Tad knows when I get like this, it's not good news. One time we were doing a camp out to get some tickets for an event, and I proceeded to run around the stadium like 3-4 times in like a dead sprint. So yeah, you're gonna have fun tonight, guys.
Indeed. So let's go ahead. Oh, well, I guess we can even just say before we get to the intro why we're here on a Thursday night.
Someone is deciding to take a vacation.
Yeah. So Hayden, which is actually going to be my guest next week on Palaver with Tad.
Yeah.
He has like some membership with MGM in Vegas, and they have some offers every so often. And for Labor Day weekend, he was basically offered pay for Saturday night, and the other 3 nights are free.
Holy shit!
So we were actually going to go in the fall, like maybe November-ish, but with that offer, we were like,
"Well, I'll make him an offer he can't refuse."
It's like, let's go on down there. I haven't been down in Vegas for 5 years or so, so we're gonna make for us, it's about a 6-hour drive to Vegas. So we're gonna do that tomorrow morning, first thing. So like even for people with on the podcast side that aren't in the live chat, this will be in your podcast feed fairly quickly. I'll probably once we get done, I'll probably throw it up, and because
you're not gonna be home.
Yeah, in the morning I'm gonna leave, and I won't be back probably till Monday evening sometime.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is, to be all like loopy because 6-hour drive going down, coming back, I swear it feels like a 12-hour drive.
It's so much longer coming back.
Yeah,
it is.
I agree with Treebeard. I like going south.
It feels like you're going downhill.
So yeah, that's why we're here. Kind of a spur of the moment. It was like a few days after our episode, and I was just like, shit, we were just talking about schedules.
Yeah.
And that, we'd be back on, for sure,
Well, because we had
Saturday.
my scheduling issue the last couple episodes. So now it's your turn.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why we're here on a very strange night of the week. It's a school night for a lot of people too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't know necessarily what to anticipate with the live chat or not. But yeah, that's why we're here for this, and that's why you're also going to be getting episode. Hell, most people are probably waking up Friday morning and have it in their feeds. So, and that's very unique. A lot of times we haven't even recorded the live show by that time.
Nope.
So that's why we're here for this episode now. And let us know. We were just talking right before we went on air about the availability of this night, and it's definitely not one that we could do regularly. But if this is something that works for people or people enjoy, also this time of night, it's a little bit more probably realistic for maybe a Thursday night, maybe a Friday night, more so than like Saturday. So if there's people, maybe overseas or whatever, that this is more, I don't know, approachable as a time, let us know, and we can see what we can do about repeating like in this round.
Yeah, like I said, it's my Friday, so if we want to do more shows on Thursday night, I'm down. Then Friday, Saturdays are obviously my days off, so Those are available. We don't have to do it at night. We've talked about that before. We've been throwing that out there that if you want something during the day on Friday or Saturday, we can always look at it and see what we got.
Yeah.
So we're still thinking about doing another call-in show before the end of the year, right?
Yeah, I think we've committed to that.
Haven't we? Okay.
Yeah,
couldn't remember. I didn't want to say that we had committed before checking with you because I couldn't remember if we committed or not.
I think we committed on air with it. So yeah, we're definitely going to do that. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So and then we also will do one especially something interactive with the listeners for the 100th episode, which I think we figured was next year sometime.
Yeah.
So that as well. So let's go ahead and get into the intros real quick. First of all, I want to warn you about spoilers. If you have not finished the series of the Dark Tower series, you may want to cry off this podcast and stick to the book club episodes. In those episodes, we don't go any further than we are in the books. So if you're midway through book 6, for instance, this episode would be a danger for you, whereas our last book club, we're in the middle of book 2, so that would be safe enough for you to...
The end of book 2. Closer to the end.
Maybe 2/3, maybe.
Well, I would say 2/3. There's 3 doors. We're coming up on the 3rd one, so I'd say 2/3.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if you haven't read it all, if you go on into the roundtables, you're more than welcome to. But we don't take any responsibility for spoilers for the end of characters, storylines, anything like that may happen. We're definitely they tend to come up fairly often. So that's the warning for that. Next up, if you want to find us, I still haven't changed the notes here. Not on iTunes anymore, but on Apple Podcast. You can find us on a number of places, Apple Podcast being one, Stitcher being another for streaming, and plus any podcast service we should be available on. If you can also be so kind as to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcast, I think is what they're calling it. We definitely appreciate that. That's still one of the biggest driving forces of podcasting, the podcasting world. So rate and reviews, we'll take them anywhere, but they are definitely the most effective on the Apple side of things.
Yeah.
Next up, if you want to find our show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. And this is actually a weird one for me because the show notes are not like, it's always part of like my kind of like the post rituals, like as I'm finishing the episode up and like doing the post on it and then getting it all posted is when I'm doing the show notes. But this one I did it before so that I can just hit publish and it'll all be done already. And it just felt weird to me. I'm like, I'm doing the notes, like
everything's just backwards this week. Everything's just wrong.
Yeah, indeed.
It's like we're in a different level of the tower.
Yeah. It is strange.
Yeah.
And tomorrow morning, I'll be heading towards Vegas. MOON. That spells Vegas. My life for him, right?
No.
Vegas. That's.
What book was that in?
What?
There was I remember The Stand, obviously, Trash Can Man. No, there was another book that I just recently read with there was Stephen King, and it was someone was saying it about the evil guy in the story. It was like my life for him.
Did you go Nosferatu?
Yeah.
It's in that.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not Stephen King, although
it's in the Stephen King universe, so fuck off.
But not written by Stephen King.
Not written by Stephen King,
which is
but
the
it
odd
is
thing.
in the...
Okay, you read it then.
Yes.
So did you get the same vibes I did where every once in a while you forgot that you weren't listening to a Stephen King book?
To a point, I actually got bones to pick about that book, but I don't know if we want to do that this episode or another episode, but we can get there if you want.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to talk to you after the episode about it because I did finish it, but
yeah.
Let's finish the intros first.
Yeah. I'm also just in that vein too. I just started a binge through Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, which Kate Mulgrew is Captain Janeway in that, and she narrated the.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
She narrates Nosferatu.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I never was a Voyager fan. I stopped at Next Generation. I watched a little bit of Deep Space Nine. So I never got into Voyager.
I watched Deep Space Nine like maybe a year or two ago for the first time ever. Voyager, I actually, when we were working our first job, when we'd get those 10, 11 o'clock shifts, and I'd go home and, go cook something and like whatever, usually around 11-ish or 11, somewhere in there is Fox here in Utah would play Voyager reruns. I always hated it like for the longest time, or thought I did. And I started watching there and kind of got hooked a little bit. And I think I saw like a stretch kind of in the middle of the show, but I've never really seen the beginning. I've never
watched
the end.
It all the way through.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to experience that. But yeah, speaking of Nosferatu, I remember when I started listening, I'm like, that's Janeway. I knew right away.
I knew the voice, but I have no idea. And then like I looked her up, and it just didn't click with me that it was Voyager.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, indeed. So last up, if you want to engage with us, there's a number of ways to do that. If you are new to the podcast, we want you to know that you're part of the extended quartet, and as such, we want you to be part of the Palaver. And there's a number of ways to do that, and Peter can let you know how to do that.
So if you check out the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com, there's a survey up with, not a survey, just random, not random. I'm like all over the place.
Questions.
There's questions for newer listeners that we like to have people answer. Who's your favorite character? How did you come to the series? Stuff like that. You can check that out, like Tad said, on the show notes. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. If you want to send something to us regarding answering those questions, the best way to do it is email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then you can check us out on our social media feeds. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And on Twitter, it's at darktowerpod. That's at darktowerpod. And then we stream our shows live. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. If you're listening live, like I think you said Travis is in the chat right now.
Yeah, now OG Chris just entered.
So we got a couple people in the chat with us. You can always jump in and chat with us. We love having people in the chat because it just extends the content and adds more voices to be heard when we're discussing a topic. It's always awesome to do that. Also, we have some older shows on there. Not all of them, but roundtables are kept up so that you can go back and see the visuals. I think we've even done like videos a couple times, like trailers and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you can check those out at youtube.com/darktowerpalaver.
Indeed. So yeah, that is all the intro stuff. So I don't know. Do you want to get into a Nosferatu tangent here? I know that's...
It's the order of the day is tangents. I'm going to tell you that right now because I got a couple things to talk to you about.
I would say that kind of counts in the Stephen King universe.
Of course, it absolutely counts in the Stephen King universe. There's like 5 references to King novels.
Yeah.
There's fucking Pennywise called out by name.
Yeah, including...
So no, it's in the King universe.
I need to watch the show, but it's like it's AMC, right?
Yeah.
And they're famous for like not letting shows run all the way through, straight through. So I'm not going to touch the show until it's pretty much over.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, no, I'm not doing your whole mid-season finale bullshit. Like nothing. Like
They're the worst at
I
that.
am not fucking watching your show until like we're on the back end slide. The only one that's worse is like CW. When I was watching some of the DC shows on there, they were horrendous with that kind of stuff too. And like that shit just pisses me off. Like Game of Thrones did it right. Like the last season. Well, few things they did right, but they started it and it went straight through. There was no breaks. I think there was even a holiday in the middle of there, but they didn't stop and like whatever. I hate when shows do that, so I'm not going to watch Nosferatu until it's there. But I believe that I have seen in the midst of my emails, I do believe there's reference to Pennywise in the show,
nice
and stuff. So yeah, I've seen some like things that flag because I have like Stephen King on my filters. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, they referenced quite a few things. They mentioned Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
They referenced the True Knot.
Yeah.
And the fact that they actually have a line. He has a line
Dark
in there.
Tower as well, right?
Oh yeah, they referenced the Dark Tower specifically, but the specific one that I'm talking about it with the True Knot that really got to me because I had just recently read Dr. Sleep.
Yeah, I still
I
need
let
to. Before the movie.
I let the fans vote. And what book I would read, and they picked Dr. Sleep to be ready, like you said, to be ready for the movie coming out in November.
Yeah.
And so the line in Nosferatu was, I want to say Bing, but that's the henchman. Manx. Charlie Manx, the main bad guy.
Which is played by the new Spock.
Which is played by the new Spock, Zachary Quinto.
Yeah, Quinto.
Quinto, that's right. Zachary Quinto. There's a kind of a throwaway line, but it really hit me hard. I was like, oh, because I was driving when I was looking at it. I was like, oh my God. It was like, it mentions Pennywise and it mentions Derry, and then it's like, and there's also the True Knot, but the True Knot knew Manx and Manx knew the True Knot, and they had a mutual agreement to stay out of each other's way. And I was like, oh, you sons of bitches. There's so much evil, you sons of bitches.
Yeah. I do love how he kind of worked in some of the Stephen King stuff there. But you didn't like the book, or there was just issues you had with it, or?
I had,
because I loved it, and that's the only one I've read of his so far. I bought I can't remember if it's called The Fireman or something Firewise. Like I think it's like people are spontaneously combusting as the basic premise or whatever.
Right.
But I haven't actually started that one yet. But I did love Nosferatu for what it was. I thought it was really cool.
I really did like Nosferatu. The problem I had with it was, one, I didn't like the performance as much. And so that doesn't do anything to the book for me. That's just my reread value has to be a question there. I liked the way she performed until someone had to scream. the way she screamed, where like Bing has to yell no several times.
Yeah.
It seriously was like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Oh, really?
So that was the biggest complaint. The other complaint was like, Jesus Christ, it's like, remember when we talked about the movie The Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
No, is it just Nightcrawler or The Nightcrawler?
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah.
Right, where he's a despicable, horrible piece of shit who's filming like wrecks and murders and shit like that in L.A. and selling the footage to news agencies.
Yeah.
You know, if it bleeds, it leads, and all that kind of thing. It's set in the 70s, 80s, 90s?
Probably in there somewhere.
Somewhere around there. Before like cell phones and shit like that, camera
Yeah.
phones like that. It
Yeah.
kind of put this line of business out of, put them out of business.
Yeah.
I told you about this in when I watched that movie. I was like, dude, the problem with the movie is that it made me uncomfortable because who the fuck am I cheering for?
Yeah.
There is no good guy. There is no bad guy.
You have it in Bad, don't you? In Nosferatu.
Kind of. I mean,
forget her name.
She's kind of a piece of shit. So,
yeah.
like, to me, it's like, yeah. I mean, honestly, my favorite character was the fucking dad. The fat guy, the nerd, the me, that kind of thing. So I was kind of rooting for him, which was cool. But
yeah,
like she was a tough pill to swallow, especially when she's younger.
Yeah,
like high school and the shit that she pulls there and everything like that. It's just like, God, just like her dad, the grandpa of this boy that gets taken is a piece of shit. Her mom is understandably troubled.
Yeah.
So I can't really hate on her. I mean, obviously I hate Manx and he's deplorable and a horrible fucking human being for one fucking reason, and you know why.
Why?
He kills a Saint Bernard, man.
Oh.
Fuck him. It's my favorite dog.
That's Cujo, man.
Oh.
Cujo. Evil. Beast. Beast.
That hurt so bad. And I'm getting way too into spoilers. I'm sorry, guys, for Nosferatu, but yeah.
Minor spoilers. I wouldn't say there's anything major that you said there. Killing a Saint Bernard.
Yeah, that's true. Killing the dog. I think besides from that, I'm going to stop.
I think his henchman is more deplorable.
His henchman is creepy as fuck. Yeah. Both of them are great villains. I love the combo of Charlie Manx and Bing.
But writing wise, like it felt
like Stephen King.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was just one of those ones that was hard because King usually is pretty good about giving me a clear person to cheer for.
Yeah,
it was really interesting, and maybe it's just my preference.
Well,
because
Dark Tower, early on you don't. I mean, Roland is pretty pretty much a dick.
Which is why a lot of people struggle with the gunslinger. Let's be perfectly honest. So for me, it was really that's probably the reason why I attached to Eddie so fast and so hard.
Yeah,
is because when he comes into the Dark Tower, it's like. Give me. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy. He's had some struggles. He's got his flaws, but give me. I love him. He's mine.
Oh, man.
Don't you touch him.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I won't. I'm not Algo Ciento, so.
Yeah, so it was really hard. It was like, okay, so she's gonna survive. She's gonna have her issues, but she's gonna be strong and she's gonna be able to do this. But it was really kind of an awakening to me because, like, I was talking to my wife about it. It's really interesting for Nosferatu because it's the first time really that it's not that I was missing, that wholesome good character, but I did end up liking her towards the end after her actions and what she did to the outcome of the story ended because of what she did. That led me a little bit back towards that. So maybe a second read through is not going to necessarily change my mind, but it will help lessen the bad taste in my mouth for it. So that's all I have to say about Nosferatu.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I forgot. I don't even know if you told me you were reading it I forgot.
I didn't even get a chance to tell you because it was. But
I know
we did the shows back to back.
Yeah.
I tried
a longer break.
Yeah, I downloaded it last year, and I started.
And I think you told me that you had downloaded. So I kind of vaguely knew that it was like in your docket a little bit. It was there. But yeah, I didn't know that you had actually dove in.
No, what happened was I downloaded it the week before we did our back-to-back episodes, but I was still finishing up. Was it 11/22/63? I just had it ready, and I just forgot to tell you.
Yeah,
like we were talking about. I think we even talked about 11/22/63 a little bit, and Doctor Sleep because those were the last two that I was reading and everything, and then. I just started Nosferatu, so like the camping trip that I went on.
No, I think honestly, just to interrupt you a bit, I honestly think you had finished Doctor Sleep right when we recorded our last episode. I think you finished it outside before we started the episode. I don't think you started 11/22/63. If you've read that in the time since we recorded.
Yeah, so
last,
I've done 11/22/63,
which is a huge
and
fucking book.
I've done 11/22/63 and Nosferatu. I listened to Audible. Should we look at some stats real fast? It's fun to see stats.
Okay, yeah, I'll check the chat while you're
Okay.
doing that. Travis informed Chris, because Chris came in after my announcement of to why we're here. Chris says, Tad is taking the trip to Randyland, and that's indeed correct. And then Peter there, did Peter just confess his fandom for Walter?
What?
That's what Chris said. He must have heard something. I'll have to take his word for it, You must have finally committed yourself to the right side. There,
What?
The stand.
No.
And
Blasphemy.
Travis says, I agree with Peter. First character I loved in Dark Tower is Eddie, and mostly due to his flaws, plus his early interactions with Roland. And then Travis also says, LOL at Chris. Chris's comment, secret flag crush.
So for the month of August, I've listened to 55 hours on Audible.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Quite a bit.
It's about the end of the month, so that adds up.
Yeah.
Today alone, I listened to 3 hours and 27 minutes.
Yeah.
So
So-
I get quite a bit of listening done.
Since we're on like a little bit of a tangent here, I have actually kind of fallen off because I think I told you I was starting the stand. Because dude, I'm just in a nonfiction mode right now. So I just I've downloaded a couple like history / like whatever type books, and I've really been hitting those hard recently. I definitely want to. I don't know. I'm actually kind of thinking maybe I'll hold the stand off until next year
And do our Unfound Door like we've talked about.
Yeah, and because my normal time to read it is usually early summer, like when it actually starts.
Yeah.
And it always just feels right there. But see, my last read was so late in the year that it kind of just threw off my whole mojo. And like now, I was into it. I was 5 or 6, 7 hours in. But yeah, I just got a really big craving for just more nonfiction stuff. So, which I don't know if that happens to you, but every so often I just got to take a detour out of fiction for a while and just do a bunch of nonfiction.
I talked to you about this one earlier in the year. I had it was just a month or two ago. I had a huge history kick.
Yeah,
I went back and listened to that book, that really cool book you turned me on to, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich.
Yeah,
that journalist who was living there.
Yeah,
and moved out just
William L. Shirer.
Yeah, L. Shirer, right before the Nazis officially took over, and he's one of the only handful, 4 or 5 journalists who were given the right to review all of the Nazi documentation that was captured by the Allies after the war. So he wrote a freaking book in the 50s.
I can't remember when it was
50s or 60s.
I think you've read it 2 or 3 times now. I think I've only read it once.
Dude,
so.
it's a cool thing if you're interested in World War II because it gives such depth to the German side of things that you don't usually get. You usually get, the U.S., the Allies, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Nazis were doing this. The Japanese were doing this. But it's not like a delve so far deep into it. That's one of the reasons why the Hardcore History series that's currently ongoing that we're waiting for the next episode is so fascinating because it's diving way deeper into the Japanese side of things.
Yeah.
And they're not only their culture, but their way of thinking and what would be the right frenzied way of fighting?
Yeah,
because they were scary.
Yeah,
the way they fought in World War II.
Yeah, so I'm just as a way of saying that I'm kind of falling off the fiction for a bit. I don't know how long it'll last, but I've got a couple books in my queue that are definitely more nonfiction for a number of things. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at on reading. So let's go ahead and jump into the news, and the first one we've got is right here. Yeah. So Barbara and Andy Muschietti are producing an adaptation of Stephen King's Roadwork. And this is from John Squires from Bloody Disgusting on August 8th, 2019. So this is maybe one that's a little bit more obscure for sure. I don't think
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, so we'll dive into the article here. It says, published under the pseudonym Richard Bachman, Stephen King's Roadwork was first released in 1981, later collected together with the stories in the 1985 The Bachman books. The book's official description reads, it's all coming to an end for Barton Dawes. The city's Highway 784 extension is in the process of being constructed right across town and inexorably through every aspect of Bart's existence. whether it's about to barrel over the laundry plant where he makes a living, or soon smashing through the very home where he makes a life. But as a result, something's been happening inside Bart's head, and that a heartless local bureaucracy isn't prepared for. A complete and irrevocable burnout of the mental circuit breaker that keeps a mild-mannered person from turning to violent means. As the wheels of progress and the demolition crew continue to unabated through Bart's neighborhood, he's not about to give everything up without a fight. As a matter of fact, he's ready and waiting to ignite an explosive confrontation with the legislative forces gathering against him. So, yeah, kind of a...
Man versus the system kind of thing.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, this sounds like Barbara and Andy Muschietti, obviously most famous for It.
Thank you. I was like, I know those names. Why do I know those names?
Andy and Barbara work together a lot, but Andy's the one that gets mentioned the most because he's directing or whatever. But they're definitely a team, so we're going to be talking about them a lot today. So as it goes on here, it says it looks like a feature adaptation of Roadwork is now in the works as Andy and Barbara Muschietti, and then it gives in parentheses It and It Chapter 2 have revealed to Radio Cantolio that they are working aboard working on board to produce an adaptation of the novel. Pablo Trapero, the site reports, will direct the film. So they're producing with another person directing. And then a quote from Barbara Muschietti says, "It's a fantastic script." Barbara told the local radio station, "We hope to start shooting at the beginning of next year." And then this hit my my web, as it were, just because it obviously has some of the key words. But as I went through the article, it's like, oh, the first article says so-and-so, and then I moved to like that one, and that one actually ended up coming down to, at the base of it was Lilia's Library.
Nice.
So from the Stephen King podcast, that they're the first ones that broke the news.
Nice.
So give them props, since at the root of it was them. I used this article because they gave a little bit more of a description of like the book and stuff. So
cool.
That's why I used this article. So yeah, that's could be an interesting thing. I mean, at this point now, I think if Stephen King wrote it, there's probably something that's going to be made of it. Like, I think like he probably signs like a dinner ticket, and like Hollywood's like, what is that? What did he just write? It's like,
how can we make that into a series?
Yeah, it's like, that's my signature, guys. Yeah, it's pretty nutty how much is
the signature of Stephen King, an HBO 10-part series.
Yeah, no kidding. Although I'm still saying it, man. Shining needs to be done again. Not doesn't need to in terms of like, because it has to, like, but I want to see King's version of The Shining with the quality of movies we're seeing today.
You don't think that they're kind of filling that void by doing Dr. Sleep?
No, I want hedge animals. I want the hotel. I want it just the way it was in the books. Like, yeah, we had the 90s TV miniseries, but for God's sake, it's a 90s TV miniseries. I want to get one of these brilliant filmmakers that have been sinking their teeth into Stephen King. Dude, get Frank Darabont, for God's sake. Get him to do it. And
so it's funny that you mentioned Darabont, you psychic bitch. Travis asked a question in the chat that I want your opinion on. Is it pronounced Muschietti? Muschietti, the new Darabont?
I mean, this is number 3, I guess. Does it count as 1 or 2? I mean, I know it's 2 movies, but theoretically, is it kind of one of those, like, it's really one story, though? Like, rather than doing a 6-hour miniseries, he's doing 6 hours worth of movies.
I think that in my mind, I'm going to count it as 2.
Yeah.
It's not a sequel. It's not the same actors. It's not even some of the same actors. I mean, you have Bill Skarsgård.
The kids are all back.
Are they?
Yeah.
I thought
they were watching the trailers.
I thought they were doing the adults. I thought it was just like flashback stuff.
Yeah, but it's going to be in the movie. I think I think because the kids were so successful, I think they
brought them back.
They're probably going to elevate how much they have. Not that they're going to be. I won't expect them to be like half and half by any means, but I do believe that we're going to see some extra stuff, maybe that was even highlighted in the book. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say. But I think that we're going to see more from the kids. In fact, there was a lot of scuttlebutt about Richie. It looks like they have digitally de-aged the actor because he no longer looks like he did when they're trying to portray him.
That's true. I still would probably count it as 2 different times, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
we're gonna have the adults now kind of thing.
Yeah,
it would kind of be like if we're not considering well, it's a continuation of the story though. It's like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Like,
but I feel like those are 2 very distinct things.
They're 2 very different movies, 2 very different time frames. So that's why I kind of feel about it.
I guess the thing for me is like it is one book, right? And it
true.
just comes down to you realistically cannot adapt that book into one movie. There's no way. Like unless you're doing like a 6-hour movie, 4-hour movie, 5-hour movie,
or you do a horrible hack job and do a terrible movie.
Yeah. You just go nuts and just
to give them an hour and 40 minutes. There you go, Tad.
Yeah,
I want to see you make an hour and 40-minute It movie.
Yeah, I would just do an hour and 40 minute of the Georgie scene.
God,
that's what I'd turn in.
Them waking up in the morning. It's a real time. The last hour and 40 minutes of Georgie's life.
Yeah.
If you want to see more, right? You're and then you put the name of the studio so that they can be hassled to give you an actual chance to make a real movie, a couple movies.
Travis says he would count it as one big story. And then he says the kids will be in flashback, but he does see your point as well. Because I mean, I guess like the other thing that we got to bring up, is to compare him with Darabont is quality. Not saying that it is bad quality, but even like look at the way our top 10 lined out. Like,
well, look at everyone's top 10.
No, that's what I'm saying. Ours and
ours is
the Royal
Palaver,
Hour.
Yeah.
You know, as
I thought you meant just me and you.
No, the DTP like across the board.
Yeah.
Like when I did that, the stats at the end, like the Shawshank. It was neck and neck with The Shining, but it's like Shawshank and Green Mile was there a lot, and Shawshank is like very high for everyone. That wasn't one that spent a lot of time on people's lower part of their list. That one is pretty high for most people. Again, we've talked about it in that episode where a lot of people rank Shawshank as one of the greatest movies of all time. So it does either. I mean, we haven't seen It Chapter 2, but does It Chapter 1 equate? If it was to equate to one of Darabont's movies, the first It movie, which would it equate to in terms of quality? And
well, the big thing,
I don't want to say quality because quality makes it sound like I'm shitting on it. I'm really not. I'm just saying that I just feel like it's just something feels different about It versus when I watch Green Mile or Shawshank. And that could just be time. Maybe it could.
That's what I was exactly going to say, is that we haven't given it enough time. I mean, it's only been out for less than 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that's the lasting thing that we need to, before we start comparing, The Shining or Shawshank Redemption or Green Mile to It, is we got to see the longevity of it, because It right now is a huge thing. There are people who I found this out recently, because I told you this off the air, that someone I know, a group I know, sent a couple people. Warner Brothers flew them out to LA for the It horror Pennywise haunted house thing that they have there to promote the movie.
Yeah.
And they were flown out by Warner Brothers to get the word out about it. And I'm just like, that seems kind of like, it's huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But then I got thinking about it. Oh my God.
They're
talking about this movie nonstop.
Chances are It is probably in the realm of like, I don't know what the budget is, but I would bet you that it's at least $100 million in marketing alone. Not just the. That's
just the marketing.
Just marketing. So, and Travis in the chat says The Mist, because like for me, that's the first impression I come to is like It.
Is that just,
feels more like The Mist.
Comparing the horror factor?
It might be, because like for me, and I will say this is my bad. I love horror. In like,
for sure.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've gone into it enough and Palaver Tad to highlight it enough. You know, Peter,
I do.
How much I love horror. But to me, I still feel like there's like some prestige more in drama than there is in horror.
Oh, that's not even a question. I mean, find me a Best Picture that's ever been a horror film.
Yeah, it's
okay. That's it.
Now
that settles that argument. That's not even a question.
Some of that's unfair though.
No, but that's not. You're not wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
Yeah,
I'm agreeing with you, but on a different level.
But now
it's not necessarily a fair standard, because I'm sorry, you're going to be hard pressed to find 50 movies that are better than The Shining.
Yeah,
in my opinion. This is again Peter's opinion. You're going to be hard pressed to find 50 movies that you can come to me and say, "What about this movie?" I'll be like, "The Shining's better."
Yeah.
What about this movie?
Okay.
The Shining's better. The problem is that that's not how the Academy and everyone looks at films. So when you instantly compare It to The Mist, I have a problem with it, because it's something that we actually talked about with your last episode on Palaver with Tad, is that you have a really hard time doing a top 10 overall movie list.
Yeah.
Because you talked about this in your last episode. How do you compare Pulp Fiction to Halloween? I don't think that's the example you gave, but that's the one I'm using.
Yeah.
They're such different movies. I think you said Godfather and The Shining.
Yeah.
How do you compare those two movies? They're
Yeah.
so vastly different.
It's apples and oranges.
How
And
do you
I
say
know-
which one's better?
And I know that's kind of cliche, like apples and oranges example, but no, it really is. Like, how the hell do you compare those things? And it's not even that. It's like The Shining versus The Godfather. To me, that's like apples versus bowling balls. Like, there's a vast difference. They're not even in the same family. Like, they're both movies. And so I don't know. Like, and Travis says horror is the best genre, and I'm glad it's the bastard of the cinema world. And that's true too. And I think there is part of it that horror is always going to be kind of the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. I think horror almost needs that a little bit. But I do feel there are things like The Exorcist probably should have been in the realm for Best Picture.
How was it not?
You know, like I mean, maybe I'm biased, but Halloween comes to mind. You know, like but like there's just some movies that are just like I don't know, like dude, name me a movie. I mean, there's a lot of good movies in that time period, but it's like Blair Witch Project. How is that not considered? I mean, that movie fucking changed
Cinema.
Everything. Yeah,
It changed cinema.
Yeah, it did. And then to this day, we're still seeing
Lost footage.
you know,
what is
found
it?
footage.
Found footage.
Yeah,
That's what
like
you
that's
called it.
still a huge thing.
Yeah.
And like for a movie that they spent like less than $10,000 to make, and it made like hundreds
So
of millions of
crazy.
dollars, like that movie transformed cinema. And I know that's not necessarily what the Oscars are about, but like maybe I think like I don't know, horror kind of feels like punk rock to me a little bit.
The next, I'm Panze Panzerpox. Hereditary comes to mind.
Yeah,
I have not watched that yet. I have not heard a single bad thing about that
so
movie.
I was actually just maybe it was with Travis chatting, or no, I can't remember. I was talking to somebody about Hereditary.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how the Oscars that year, was it last year now? I losing
think
track.
so.
But Toni Collette in that movie, she's basically the lead. She plays the mom.
Okay.
Dude, there is no fucking reason that she shouldn't have been nominated and won the Academy Award for Best Actress.
Yeah.
Like, there's no fucking way. Like, she did so incredibly good in that, but it's a genre picture, and she wasn't even nominated. You know,
The problem
Like,
I have with the Oscars, and this is why, if someone wins an Oscar, I'm like, oh, cool, that person that I like won an Oscar.
Yeah,
But the thing that I have a problem with the Oscars is this goes back to me and you have had lengthy conversations about this. Is that the problem is that horror and comedy are so subjective.
yeah.
What scares me does not scare you in the
Yeah.
slightest.
Well, nothing scares me. Let's be honest.
Let's
I have no soul, so I can't be frightened.
he admits it. Hashtag Ted is terrible for having no soul. Finally, I got it. I got it on tape. It's recorded. This is going to be forever going to be in this. You have no soul. You admit it finally. Thank you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no, it's just it's so unfair because like you'll have game changing comedies too.
Yeah.
That they just don't get recognition.
No.
Okay, let's be perfectly honest. Jim Carrey's performance in Liar Liar is memorable for anyone who's ever seen it. Like, how does that not get some kind of an award?
Yeah.
Like, and now I'm hearing that a lot of these award shows, maybe not the Oscars, but a lot of different award shows are starting to branch off like best drama, best comedy, and stuff like that. Goes along the lines of what you've been talking about with me for 15 years. Dude, it's not fair to give me a top 10 list. Give me a top 10 horror. Give me a top 10 drama.
And that's what I've told you in the past.
Yes, you have.
But yeah, like doing an overall top 10 is just not something I can do. So,
Yes. Just like the email jingle, that soundbite is forever on this show. I'm going to go find it when you post a show later tonight. I'm going to record it. I'm going to make it your fucking ringtone.
well, hey, I'm also saying like it was a long road. There was like a decade where like from like age 5 to age 15, I was desensitizing myself to everything. Like Hollywood,
Child's Play, Halloween, Friday the 13th.
Hollywood video from A to Z, man. Horror section A to Z.
Yep.
Like it just everything. And we just watch it all to the point where like now I see it way differently than most people. I don't squirm, whatever. Like, okay, maybe like a jump scare in terms of like if it's a loud noise will like startle me.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't count. Like that's not scaring me. That's freaking throwing a loud noise.
No,
like,
the question we have to ask though is if I bring up that wolf from Neverending Story.
Yeah,
that
has some residual.
It's still there.
Yeah, that has some residual. Like that's like the childhood.
You know, did I ever
thing.
tell you what mine is of that?
And I will say with that, like it's not like I get like terrified. I just get like the chill down my spine when I see him. You know, Gmork is what we're talking about.
Mork. I always forget his name. It's the wolf from Neverending Story is what I say.
Yeah.
Did you know that I have one of those?
Yeah. What's that?
Tremors.
Yeah.
Dude, fuck dirt, fuck desert. No.
Yeah.
I still get like unsettled feelings like when I go camping. I'm like, okay, there's a boulder. If anything starts happening, that's where I'm going.
Dude, I can't believe they haven't brought that back from the dead.
Didn't they just make one like a year ago?
No, they had started a TV series and it
Yeah.
basically went nowhere.
It
And
did nothing.
yeah, I don't even think they finished it.
Oh,
I don't even think
really?
it ever hit air. Like it.
Oh, it didn't?
I feel like they maybe filmed an episode or two and the whole thing got mothballed. So yeah, no,
I
like
stopped-
literally nothing happened.
Yeah, I stopped watching after the third movie. After the third movie where they started fucking flying, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah.
These things are supposed to come from under the ground.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so let me go so now I guess we got the next article here. You're looking at the chat at the same time. So next one is an exclusive with Games Radar here. And it is It Chapter 2 director is working on a supercut featuring both movies back to back.
Oh, hell yes.
By Bradley Russell, again from GameRadar.com on August 20th, 2019. So what did I miss in the chat here? Anything that
Tad and I are, this is Travis. Tad and I are very similar with our history of horror. Oh, Mork. Mork rears his head again on the palaver.
it's just Mork. You gotta have the G in there, otherwise you're talking Robin Williams.
Is it Gamork?
Gamork, yeah.
Oh, Gamork. Okay.
Yeah. Because
I've
Mork.
only ever seen Neverending Story once, which is like a crying shame, especially after watching Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm missing something from my childhood, but we already knew this already.
Yeah.
You've experienced this being my friend for so long. that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Mork.
Mork is Robin Williams and Mork and Mindy.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Gamork. And then Travis says, yes, Peter. Tremors is awesome. Kevin Bacon owns. And then, and yeah, Chris earlier, the pen is royal blue. And he says Jim Carrey is a legend. Yeah,
Yeah.
that scene alone. I'm sorry. My vote for the Oscar that year. I don't even know what won that year.
97. Yeah, I don't know. Who, off the top of my head, I don't know. But
It's
yeah.
probably I'm gonna be willing to place a safe
Because like
bet.
98
I'll
was.
I'll bet you a dinner that it's a drama.
Oh yeah, I mean,
You want to take that bet?
Fucking
You want to take
duh.
that bet?
Because 98 was Saving Private Ryan. 99 was American Beauty. So I don't know about 97 though. When Liar Liar came out. Okay, so into this article here. We're tangenting all over the place here. If Blaine was
I warned you.
If Blaine was this erratic, it would have gone off the rails real quick. Okay, so how much Pennywise can you handle? It Chapter 2 director Andy Muschietti recently spoke to our sister publication SFX Magazine and revealed that he had plans to release both a longer director's cut and a supercut, combining both It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2 into one big scare fest. So, yeah, that's...
I'm down for that.
Yeah, he says the possibilities are open, Muschietti says, of the future of longer cuts of It Chapter 2. There's a version where two movies are cut together. There's a version where there's a special director's cut of number 1 and a special director's cut of number 2, and I'm happy to basically work on every one of them. So we basically have we haven't had an extended edition of Part 1, have we?
No.
So he's saying there is one. He's already said there's, I think we've already talked about the fact that he's mentioned that there's probably a director's cut of Part 2, but now he's saying there's a director's cut for both, as well as the idea of combining them into one giant movie, which I'm actually about to do here in the next month or so with Avengers. I still haven't done that yet.
Are you doing the 4 Avengers
No,
movies,
just
or
the
the
Endgame and Infinity War back to back.
back to back?
I haven't done that
just
yet.
instantly.
Yeah, just exactly. But you got to carve out 6 hours of your day to do that. So,
So what you do is you watch Infinity War, go get something to eat, come back and watch Endgame.
yeah, or just order pizza or something so you don't have to stop. I mean,
Well, I mean, it's just like the break in between films.
yeah, possibly intermission.
Yeah, have an intermission. By the way,
Travis says Jeffrey Rush won for Shine. And Best Picture was The English Patient. Oh, English Patient, yeah.
for
90s,
97,
90s, yeah, that's what he's saying. Oh, wait, that could be for 96, though, because if you look up 1997, that would have been the Oscars. Was held in 97 for 1996. So it would actually be the Oscars 1998 would tell you the 97 winners.
I was going to say, because I looked it up and it said that Jack Nicholson won for As Good as It Gets.
Okay.
And then I forgot what Best Picture was.
Okay. Yeah, because I've made that mistake before where if you look...
It's like
if
the
you,
freaking Super Bowl.
y-
2017 winner.
Well,
It's
because
like the season took place in 2016.
Yeah, but the actual event is being held, in the next year. So,
So it's the 70th Academy Awards for the 1997 because the English Patient won at the 69th Academy Awards, which was on March 24th, 1997.
So that was for 96.
So it was the 70th Academy Awards.
I've done that a million times. I like it when I'm looking shit up like that. Chris says the ultimate marathon is Lord of the Rings extended versions back to back.
We've done that.
We've done that. Yeah.
And I have to admit, Tad will call me out if I don't. Totally fell asleep.
No, actually you didn't.
What?
Not Lord of the Rings. You did when we did the 6 Star Wars movies.
The 6 Star Wars movies, I absolutely didn't. I only fell asleep in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Give me some credit where credit is due. That's 6 damn movies, sir.
But wasn't it ridiculous in terms of like we watched 6 movies and then like the difference between 6 movies of Star Wars and 3 Lord of the Rings movies was not that different?
No, it wasn't. I think we looked that up at one point because we did the 6 Star Wars well before we even tried the 3 Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And we did all 3 Lord of the Rings. You're absolutely right. I was mixing up the 2. Yeah. Return of the Jedi, I absolutely fell asleep too.
But I think you're also way more familiar with Star Wars, too.
Oh, way more than, yeah.
But yeah, let me go on with the article here. No news yet on whether all 3 will be bundled into a home video release, which is an interesting thought process, to have an extended edition of 1, extended edition of 2, plus a super cut. You know what I'm picturing? A balloon, red balloon that you open up with the 3 cases in there. That's what I'm picturing.
Open it up into a bouquet of balloons?
Yeah, or it could just be like a one that sits on its side and it's like the gutter with the.
I was gonna say, what about the sewer grate?
The sewer, yeah.
Like, how great would it be if they did the sewer?
And you have to
grate?
reach in there to get the movie.
Yeah.
No news yet. Oh wait, no, I already said that. Even so, we're at the very least almost guaranteed a longer cut of it, Chapter 2 down the line, according to Muschietti. While Chapter 2 runtime already clocks in at a bulky 165 minutes, which if you're a human being, that means 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Does it actually say that in the article?
I did.
You did. Thank you.
I put a translation there.
Thank you. I fucking hate that. 60, 120, 180. That's about 2 hours and 30 minutes. Fuck.
Yeah. And then everyone's talking the Lord of the Rings there. I will admit, I have not probably watched Lord of the Rings in almost a decade.
Not since then. I have not since then watched a full Lord of the Rings. I've caught them on TV.
I would say within the realm of give me like a 3 or so year window outside of after the because I'd say because it was 2004 the last one I think. So call it like about 2007ish. Outside of 2007 to now, I haven't watched a single minute of Lord of the Rings.
I have not watched the Lord of the Rings movies. I will admit that I did watch the 3 Hobbit movies, and I regret that.
Yeah, I watched the first Hobbit movie. I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm not watching.
I liked the first Hobbit movie, but it just was downhill from there.
No, there was just part of me there was elements of it I liked, but I was like somewhat perturbed that they were stretching a 200-page book into fucking 3 movies. I thought that was nothing but a cash grab.
It's the exact opposite of what we should do for it.
Yeah. So, I watched the first one, and I still have not seen the other 2 Hobbit movies, and I never will, and I'll never rewatch The Hobbit, the first one. It wasn't my cup of tea. And then, so yeah, it's been a long time for me, but that might be coming down the pike. I know Hayden's been harassing me for probably about 5 years or so we need to watch the extendeds in like a marathon form.
Oh, God. By the way, just so we can put a finishing bow on it, Titanic won Best Picture that year.
Oh, fucking duh. I knew that.
That's the only reason I
knew that.
That's the
God
only reason.
damn it.
That's the only reason I wanted to do that, because I knew you would be mad about that.
Damn it! I
that.
fucking knew that. 97, of course.
It's only like the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time.
Of course, it's fucking Titanic. 97. How the hell did I forget that? Yes, of course. Yes. Did you look at Best Actor? Because you.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson.
Oh, Nicholson. Yeah, as good as it gets. Yeah,
as good as it gets. And that was also the year that Good Will Hunting came out.
Oh yeah. That probably should have won some stuff. That's
a lot of Oscars between As Good as It Gets, because that's one of the few movies that took home Best Actor and Best Actress. So
yeah, indeed. So then it says the director's cut version should surpass even that, the 2 hours and 45 minutes. The director explained that the first Chapter 2 director's cut was around 4 hours long. And I will say that kind of shit gets brought up a lot. And that's like rough cuts. That's never anything that a director ever intends an audience to see. Because I think Rian Johnson had something similar with like Star Wars, the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I think the original cut was something like almost 4 hours. And it's like, okay, original cut, that doesn't mean like that's what you actually wanted. That just comes into like, okay, here's all the cool shit I really liked. let's throw a rough cut together. Oh shit, it's 4 hours long. And then
All right.
then you go in and actually go, okay, what's really going to be in the fucking movie? So
Yeah.
I don't like these things because I think they're deceptive. Like, and then people get all like hot and bothered about, I want to see the 4-hour version. And I've even seen filmmakers have tweeted, no, you don't. Like, I don't want you to see it. It's not good. Like, there.
It reminds me of King when he talks about The Stand. That he's like, when he talks about
It would just be vulgar.
It's a little bit different between bringing back like the Trash Can Man and bringing back
Yeah,
all the other stuff. He's like, there's some stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor
because it belonged there.
and it belonged there. I'm not bringing them back for anything because it actually doesn't have a place in my book.
Yeah,
It's the same thing with film.
yeah,
There's some things that it's like, yes, this is really fucking cool, and I know that some people would really like this, but in the spacing of the film and the way that the story's being told, this would be, like, movie, as I've always had it described to me, should be a flow. It should go up, it should peak, and it should come down.
yeah.
Good movies have that. The problem is that if you add too much, you're going to have way too far to go, and sometimes you'll crash out early and then have to go back up. And that's where you get into like the bad movies. One of the big things that I hate is false endings. That happens, and we were just talking about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, indeed.
That story of you when we walked out of theaters for Return of the
It was
King.
our second time.
It was our second time.
In our defense.
It was our second time, but after like Frodo sails away, we decided to get up and go.
No, it was after the crowning.
Oh, it was after the crowning. We decided to get up and go. So they're not even back to the Shire yet. We started to walk out, and some guy whispers to us, "It's not over yet." And Ted's like, "It should be."
yeah. I mean, I had drank a large beverage. I'm ready.
We had to pee like racehorses.
I'm ready to go piss. I've already seen the movie one time through and sat through 75 endings. I don't need to do it again. Now here's an interesting thing. You bring up The Stand and basically a manuscript, right? Here's an interesting thing to think about is the Dark Tower basically is essentially in manuscript form. King has said that before. Stephen King has said that before, where basically the Dark Tower none of the Dark Tower books had the same kind of like cutting and editing and like whatever. Like in a lot of ways, he felt they were kind of the first drafts. And that's why he's always teased that maybe he would go back at some point and update them, which I don't know that that'll ever happen at this point now. But that's interesting to think about. Like with, what would Dark Tower wise, what would maybe King cut if he were to go in there with we know he'd cut himself out. I don't know how the hell he'd do that because it's such a big part of it.
We know that he would, of course, make Eddie live. Regrets that every day of his life. That's a horrible decision.
I mean, if you met Flag there,
So.
I think I can get behind that.
It would be interesting to see what he would do with writing himself out of it because he knows that he doesn't like that. We know that he doesn't like that. So, we had
Panzer looks like
Panzer Box had to go. Yeah, he was just waking up. He's from down under, so he's just starting his day. So.
Oh, okay, awesome. Have a good day. So like with or good day, right?
Good day. Don't do it.
That's
don't
been
try.
okay. That's been in my head because I just saw the Book of Mormon musical, and again, it's the second time I've seen it.
Mhm.
And there's a spot in there, one of the songs where they're basically talking about where their missions are going to be.
Really?
And the one guy's like, it's along this whole course of things where he mentioned different places. And one of the lines is or Australia where they say good day. So like that's been in my head because I've listened to that. A week ago I went to in the last week, dude, I've listened to that soundtrack like probably like 15, 20 times. It's so good. So that's why that's in my head. So 4 hours long, and he says he's now going to be working on the director's cut based on my first director's cut. It's definitely going to happen, says Muschietti. Even if the spine-tingling supercut doesn't come to pass, you can be safe, or perhaps not so safe, in the knowledge that there are still hidden corners of the It franchise lurking just around the corner. And then it says the full version of the interview with Andy Muschietti can be read in this month's SFX magazine. So that will be I'll link that in the show notes. I actually have already done the show notes and I forgot about that. So I will try to remember as soon as we get done with this episode.
Make yourself a note
to throw that back in there. But there is a link to that if you wanted a SFX, so like special effects magazine. If you want to subscribe to that, their hardcover or a hard copy issue is where that interview's at.
Just to make sure that I understand this right, Supercut means that they're not going to edit it down into like a 4-hour movie. They're going to give us both movies in their entirety together, right?
Like Supercut, like I would say one of the big ones is Godfather. They did the
Oh,
supercut
right.
of Godfather, where now that one I don't really care for, but it's basically
It's where they put everything in chronological
order 1 through 3. So
you don't get the back and forth between Michael and
and
Vito's story and
you
Godfather
see all
2.
the Vito stuff from Godfather 2, and then you see the whole Godfather 1, then you see the Michael stuff for Godfather 2, then you see Godfather 3. I don't know. Like, literally the only reason that was allowed to happen is because Francis Ford Coppola needed some fucking money for Apocalypse Now, because it was a fucking train wreck of a production. And he, to this day, regrets having to sell that, because he does not, he's not a fan of it. Because it takes the entire guts of Godfather 2 and fucking destroys them. So yeah, that's, so Supercut, who knows? We'll see. Chances are, I'm going to say, almost certainly, if there's a supercut, it likely will not be in theaters. I don't think that you would see that'd be 5-something hour thing like that. Maybe get maybe 3 showtimes. maybe that's even pushing it. 2 for sure, but
Chris says, I hope they include that scene where the dancing clown arrives to Earth. I heard they filmed it.
Yeah, that's there's definitely a lot of talk of what's been out there. But yeah, he's definitely talked about in this interview here that he's got a director's cut for both movies, as well as he wants to do a super cut. So we'll see what happens. There's obviously, it could even be like Lord of the Rings comes back up again. It could be something where It Chapter 2 comes out on Blu-ray normally, and then we see It Chapter 1 director's cut and It Chapter 2 director's cut come out afterwards. Who knows? So next up is the next article here is titled "Another Stephen King Novel is Getting Made into a Movie." And this is
shocker.
And this is Christina Holub from Entertainment Weekly on August 21st, 2019.
Let me see if I can use my psychic powers.
Yeah, because they give you nothing on the
There's
article.
nothing on the title there.
Nothing
so
in the title.
Another novel being made into a movie.
Yeah, and the picture's only Stephen King.
It's only Stephen King. So. Okay, so let's see if I can guess this. Let's do some deductive reasoning. Okay, so it's not Dark Tower, not It, not The Stand, not Dr. Sleep, not 11/22/63, not Mr. Mercedes. I mean, there's a lot still to go off of. Long Walk's already been announced. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Salem's Lot.
That's already announced.
Fuck!
That's what I'm saying. You're playing a dangerous game here, sir. There's pretty much
everything is being made.
Everything is, yeah. Okay, so it starts off here. It says It, pun intended, is that's what she wrote, not me.
All right.
Is a good time to be a Stephen King or one of his books. It's a good time to be Stephen King or one of his books. It Chapter 2 hits theaters this weekend and could very well dethrone. And I also did I mention it was on August 21st, 2019. I don't know if I did. And it could very well dethrone its predecessor as the highest-grossing horror film of all time. Pet Sematary opened earlier this year. Gerald's Game and the Dark Tower movies were released in 2017. Dr. Sleep and Salem's Lot adaptations, among others, are on the way. And now there's another one to add to the list. Sanibel Films, the production company of the late legend George A. Romero and his former wife, Chris Romero, announced Tuesday that it is collaborating with Vertigo Entertainment and Origin Story to produce a film adaptation of King's 1999 novel, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon.
Oh, okay.
So probably one you never would have guessed.
I never read it, so
yeah. Because dude, let's be honest. There's a lot of Stephen King books, so I think you'd be hard pressed unless you were like have photographic memory and had memorized everything that we've already announced.
Yeah. That was the problem. Is I was trying to go through everything that either has a show, is going to get a show, or is in the process of releasing a show. I mean, we got It, The Stand, Mr. Mercedes is currently an ongoing show. Dr. Sleep comes out this year.
Yeah.
I knew The Long Walk had been started. We did talk about Salem's Lot. I just forgot about it.
Yeah.
So I knew that it wasn't The Shining because you already mentioned that. You're like, damn it, give me a new Shining.
Yeah, and it'll never happen. Now, I as much as I'd love to see it, it'll never happen.
I don't think it would because of Kubrick.
Yeah.
Not because
Which
Kubrick.
is unfortunate.
Not because Kubrick or anything like that is trying to stop it.
No.
It's just that if you have, it's just like if someone's like, hey, Tad, should we remake The Shawshank Redemption? You'd be like,
I mean, I'd just punch the person.
Right in the throat.
Yeah, just throat punch him. But again, I don't look. I think we mentioned it some episodes back where King kind of talked about it with adaptation. He's like, why is Shakespeare able to get new takes on it constantly? Every time you cast a new. I mean, in high school we did 2 Shakespeare things. It's like, why is that allowed to do that?
Yeah.
But when it comes to a book, it suddenly turns into this thing where you get one chance, and then anything after that, fuck you, because it's a remake. Like, why can't novels be readapted? Maybe not on a constant basis, but it's just let people try different approaches.
Travis says, "Zombie." Kubrick says, "No."
Yeah. Now, if there was one person that Beyond the Grave could stop something, it'd probably be Kubrick.
I think if we're gonna go Beyond the Grave, I'd have to say Romero. Just for the pun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is he in a grave, or did they just launch him into space just to avoid any
chance?
chances there? I mean, the man pretty much invented zombies as we know them,
for sure.
So he's a great. See, that's another one that is on especially as we get closer to October. I think some Palaver with Tad is going to be some horror based. I think Romero's definitely got to be an episode. I think that's got to happen.
Oh hell yeah! Maybe not necessarily like centered on like the movies and everything like that, but I mean like just Romero and popular culture. Like, dude, how popular are zombies? I mean, there was a saturation there in the 2000s, starting in the 2000s.
Yeah,
we had the Dawn of the Dead remake, and then we had, I mean, just from stuff that I like, we had Left 4 Dead, the 2 video games, 1 and 2.
Call of Duty
started doing zombies.
Yeah.
Obviously, the big one, The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and from there, I mean, we have the Walking Dead Telltale games. We got, I think there was
Romero had a couple movies in the early stages of the zombie craze,
and we still get zombies is a big thing that's still continuously. I mean, we're going to get into the debate about what's a zombie movie and what's not a zombie movie.
28 Days Later is not.
They always throw them in there as zombie movies.
They're not zombies.
They're not zombies.
They're not.
We can talk about
That's
this.
not even a debate. It's just
not a zombie.
Not a
zombie. The
zombie.
definition of a zombie is a reanimated corpse. So someone who has died, left this plane of existence, and the body gets up and tries to fucking eat you.
Yeah.
Okay. 28 Days Later is someone infected with an anger virus that just tries to kick your ass. Not a zombie.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
Travis says Romero is in an iron chamber in some medical supply warehouse somewhere, just waiting to be let out and turn everyone into undead brain eaters. And then Chris says the only thing I liked related to zombies is World War Z, the book, not the movie.
Fuck yes, that is one of the best books I have ever read outside of the Stephen King verse. I fucking love World War Z. Don't get me started.
Zombie Survival Guide.
That's the same author.
I know.
So
I know, but
the Zombie Survival Guide is fascinating. I'm sorry. World War Z is a step above anything out there zombie-wise outside of Romero.
Yeah. I mean,
Max Brooks is a god when it comes to
Of course,
zombies.
Shaun of the Dead has to be
exactly a comedy around zombies. I mean, come
on. So this goes on with Tom Gordon here. It says the titular protagonist is a 9-year-old Tricia McFarland who gets lost on the Appalachian Trail during a family trip. Tricia ends up wandering through the woods for 9 days, progressively getting farther and farther from civilization. The combination of dehydration, hunger, exhaustion, and her fear of the dark causes Tricia to hallucinate. She imagines speaking to her favorite baseball player, Tom Gordon, and believes that he's being stalked, and she believes she's being stalked by a supernatural beast called the God of the Lost. Doesn't that just sound like a Stephen King book?
Now I know why I haven't read it.
You got to get on that, don't you?
Supernatural beast?
No. Oh, yeah, it does say beast.
It literally says the word beast. I'm like getting no. Yeah. Beast. I can only imagine what that would be.
Yeah. And then Travis says, watch Return of the Living Dead. That's what I was referencing. It's hysterical. Yeah. There's so much good stuff when it comes to zombies. And then going on here, it's a quote here, and this is this is from Stephen King himself. It says, "I'm thrilled that my book is being brought to the screen and that George's company is involved. Chris Forrest, in the parentheses says Romero, has worked long and hard to make this project happen," King said in a statement. A writer and director have not yet been announced. So yeah, just check another one off the box there. Of things. You know what I'm going to have to do is at some point is I have my Stephen King list. I'm going to have to go through and create a new column and just have check boxes for adaptation. Maybe draw a line in the sand and say after a certain date there's an adaptation, because for remakes or whatever, and then see what's all in development, what's not.
Dude, seriously, start a spreadsheet and share me on it, because, goddamn.
Well, I already have a spreadsheet for the King checklist. I could just add a column and make a checkbox for what's in development. That might even be a good way for me to track it. I don't know if it's last up, but another, this is going to be one of our bigger ones. And this one is The Dark Tower, 5 things the movie got totally wrong and 5 things we hope the series will get right. And yeah, by Nathan Sharp from Screen Rant on August 24th, 2019. Now what I don't want to do necessarily is relitigate the movie. I think we've discussed the movie and at such length that like I just don't want to go through again like whatever. But I will say up front, I don't know what you're gonna think, but I'm not super into some of his points here, so I might have some pushback on them. But we'll see what you think on it.
Sounds good to me.
But he starts here, says, Sony's Dark Tower was an utter travesty that completely tarnished the legacy of the series and absolutely disrespected the magnificent source material. See, like even there, I can't get with you on that.
Travis, Travis says he has to go. He says, have a good trip. Be safe.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Good to have you, Travis. And talk to you next time. And then Chris says, "LOL, I saw the article. It looks so clicky." Yeah, but I think there's some stuff that is worth discussing, and I feel like if nothing else, the 5 that we hope the series will get right. I feel like some of the reason I'm bringing this in is because I mean it is Dark Tower, but I wanted to talk about like kind of the hopes for the series and maybe look at some of the things that he says and maybe frame what I believe in, like maybe realistic or not realistic
for sure
expectations for the series. So I think we as fans of the series need to be realistic about what we're going to expect and what we shouldn't expect with the upcoming series. And I think that Nathan and I are not necessarily on the same wavelength when it comes to that. So I feel like it's a good conversation to have. So he says, yes, we understand it will be a sequel continuation, but that doesn't necessarily excuse its complete and total unfaithfulness. Again, not something I could agree with because I don't think that, I mean, you could say that like you don't feel the movie was good. I don't think you could say it was unfaithful. I don't think that there's, I don't think there's like, I don't know. Like, I just think there's, I don't know about you. I don't see a lot of unfaithfulness, like unless you're like going to go strictly and say it had to be either straight the book adaptation or it's or it's unfaithful. I don't buy into that because that's not the way adaptations work.
It's an adaptation for a reason, not a straight copy and paste.
Yeah, but I feel like we covered it at length here leading into the movie. I feel like a lot of the people involved were fans of the book and stuff, and it really came down to trying to adapt what, and bring it into a different medium. And whether their success or not is, totally up to everyone's opinion on what they feel is the quality of it, but I don't think that you could say things like unfaithful and just make these proclamations. I don't think that necessarily that works. I feel like that's just taking your opinion and placing it as a fact. He says, yes, a lot went wrong with the 2017 movie. There's still hope for the Amazon reboot. These are 5 things the movie totally got wrong, 5 things that we hope the series will get right. So he just alternates back and forth and starts off at number 10 here, and he says wrong. The opening line.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah, I mean, and this one is one that I could kind of agree with him on. The opening line of the gunslinger is now iconic. This is his write-up, is what he's saying here. Is now iconic. The men in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. It's such a great line, and we were immediately intrigued and hit with the series' core themes. We've got obvious hints of good and evil. We've got the wonderful desert / Western settings. We've got gunslingers / cowboys. It's set up as a persistent chase and the relationship between the Roland and the man in black. It raises questions like who are these people and why is the gunslinger chasing the men in black? In the movie, we have some kid using their minds to generate beams of energy that hit the Dark Tower, which I would pause and say is faithful to the books, right? Breakers,
no
attacking, like
they're attacking the beams, not the tower. But again, that goes back to what you were talking about.
But a small change. All I'm saying is
that's what I was going to say is that's what you're talking about is with the adaptation. Is that really such a significant change that we can say that that's ruining the source material?
Yeah.
And that's where the debate would have to be. And if I'm going to come in on that subject, no, it's not changing the source material. It's still attacking the nexus that's protecting everything.
Yeah.
It would be the difference between changing if you reimagined Iron Man and all of a sudden he has magical powers because he is a god from, Asgard. Well, that's not Iron Man. That's Thor. That's changing the principle of the character.
Versus changing Tony Stark that's captured in Vietnam to being captured in Iraq.
Exactly.
I think it's a
change, but it's not a change to the underlying message. and how it's supposed to go. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. And he says still raises some interesting questions, just ones that aren't good, which again, there's just that's subjective. It does, because I think it does raise questions to bring it into the series. It's just not the ones that he expected. So what do you think? Agree or disagree? I guess.
Agree.
Okay, because I think with the wrongs, it's a agree or disagree statement.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the hopes, I think it's a matter of like what's realistic or what's not, and like that kind of thing.
Okay.
I would say I agree. I think it should have opened with a line.
We talked about it leading up to it, that it should have.
Well, we even talked about it afterwards, like how you could have done it, you know, and you could have established like Flag's base by a way of him like setting up one of the camps and then going through a door to get back into his base, like to where he's almost stringing the gunslinger along. Like every so often he just pops in on him to keep him like chasing the trail, even though he's not really on that trail himself. Like you could have done some things,
for
certainly.
sure.
But yeah, I think that the opening line, although I do think it is one of those things that it's kind of a little bit hard. Like, how do you portray an opening line like that in a movie? Like
the one that I had,
because we had it in the movie, it was done through like midway through the movie, but it comes through dialogue from a psychic character. But it's like, how do you do that if you don't have that? What if it's the very first thing in the movie?
Well,
how do you do it? Do you do like Star Wars and have a title card?
Yeah, that's what I would picture, is that you have Roland walking, like the picture you have up on the screen.
Yeah,
you have Roland walking, and it's just seriously like even the shot of like maybe not necessarily him and Jake, where it's like the dust devils and everything, but something similar to that, something similar to what you have on the screen right now, the long road, the desert, and everything.
Yeah,
like,
which is
it wouldn't be a road, but just like a desert.
Yeah,
and just literally just have it just. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed.
Yeah,
and it blows away, and then you just see Roland walking towards the camera. Is what I would have done. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Because it just sets, again, it goes back to what he said in his article. It just sets you.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have an intro to the character. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed.
Yeah.
You get a close-up of Roland. You see the guns on his hips. Okay, gunslinger. Boom.
Yeah.
He's chasing a dude dressed in black. Go.
Yeah.
Show me more and go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that just from the perspective of filmmaking, like a title card, those are rare. You don't see those a lot in movies. Not anymore, anyway.
You see them.
Some people use them. Tarantino uses them.
Yes.
You know, so they are used, but they're definitely not normal. And it
is definitely not the norm. You get like the credits, and I guess that's what maybe I need help with from you being the movie buff. The difference between like Deadpool, where it shows, the movie title Deadpool, and what's a title card.
Well, it would just be like a title card. It would be something like, like the whole screen goes black or whatever, and then like text is shown on the screen.
Oh, okay. So I'm not talking about a title card then. I'm talking about an opening shot. You see someone walking towards the camera, and then you see text come up on the screen over that. That's not necessarily a title card.
No,
right?
Yeah, you're talking like a subtitle.
That's more like what I'm thinking about, is something like that.
But see, then doesn't that get kind of clumsy with like, you don't like, because normally you'd see something like that for like, here's a location, it's in Washington D.C. or whatever. You don't see it a lot where it's giving you a literary, like, I guess that's what I'm saying to excuse the filmmakers a little bit, is it's kind of hard to get that a literary line in the opening of a movie and not feel clunky. I know it's good. Now here's one thing I'd pitch is, what if it's not in the movie, but your entire marketing campaign is built around that? To where like the trailers say it's on the poster, it's your tagline to the movie and stuff, to the point where, because like A Quiet Place, going into see that in the theaters, like when I was in there, like that opening scene when a character is killed, it kind of establishes it for you for like someone that watches it 30 years from now. But like the people in the theater opening weekend when I was there, nobody needed to fucking set up. They had seen the trailer, they knew the premise,
right? So
they didn't need anything. They knew the second that noise happened, that kid was fucked, So like it's one of those like, okay, and I get that like you can't like think that marketing is going to help someone, so you have to have it as a setup. So
sure. Well, it's kind of like the marketing thing. Did you see the thing that the Joker Instagram did?
No,
you didn't see that. It was all over the Batman subreddit, which I'm a huge fan of. They posted 6 pictures, and if you organize them in the right way, there's like sparklers, like where you do like long exposure.
Yeah.
Where it said trailer 828.
Oh, okay.
But you had to detective, and you had to put the 6 pictures together.
Oh, okay.
It was really fucking cool.
Yeah,
that they did that. But that's along the lines of what you're talking about. That's a way that the marketing helped.
Yeah.
Helped because, let's be perfectly honest, Batman detective work, that's really fucking cool for Batman fans.
Yeah.
Oh, I solved
yeah.
the mystery.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. So I guess, I like I said, I agree with you, and I would love liked the movie to start with that, but I will give them a break on the filmmaker side.
You'll give them a pass?
And say it is not as easy as we make it out
Yeah.
to be as fans, where we're just like, this is what we fucking want. It's a little bit harder than that.
You'll give them a pass. Okay, let me ask
So
you
I guess
this.
I'm kind of neutral.
Well, let me ask you this question. Would you be against a narrator? For one line, would you be against a narrator?
I think if it's just the one line, then it becomes like it comes hard because you create a rule, right? Like with a narrator, you're making a rule. Like in I feel like really shitty movies with narrators just bring them in just when they need to because the writer or filmmaker, whoever it is lazy and can't find a way to like give you someone's like inner thoughts, and they need you to know it. So then they give you a narrator for like one scene. But like I feel like with a rule, like okay, so like Goodfellas, when that opens up, you know, he says from earliest memories, I wanted to be a gangster. Like the moment that happens, you now know the rules are set. There's a narrator. You're going to hear it throughout the whole movie. So I think like if you hear it from the very beginning and then like it never hear it again, and I don't know if I would want to hear a narrator through the whole movie because I don't think it fits.
No. It would not fit the Dark Tower.
I think it would be would
Maybe.
be jarring. It's no matter what you do, it's gonna be tough. So maybe it's one of those things where it's like they did get it in because they were able to kind of play on like a psychic character.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What if? Okay, so there's the question for you. What if we did it that way? You do the psychic character saying, the men in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger follows, and then we get the opening to the film, and then when the psychic character says the line later, you're like, ah.
Yeah, that would maybe be the best way you can go about it, is try to connect it in some ways to set up and payoff. Yeah, but again, it took us a little bit to talk through
there.
it to realize that like it's not easy.
Hey, you know what? I still say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Fucking sign me and Tad up to make a Dark Tower movie. I guarantee you'll have at least 2 people watching it.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again.
Indeed. And I will give them credit too. The pictures that are on the screen, if you're on the live chat or what Peter's saying, are from the article itself. So I don't want to take credit by any means. Although this was my wallpaper for like 3 years.
I know. I was going to say, wow, Tad, you decided to do that?
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. So this is what he had on his thing. So next one is number 9, which is A Hope. And it's Susanna and Eddie.
No.
Yeah, I could tell you right away. I agree. Like you can't fucking get Susanna and Eddie. Okay, so let me just read his points. One of the most glaring omissions from the Dark Tower were those of Susanna and Eddie. Again, disagree because they don't belong in that point of the story.
Nope.
Despite being prominent characters in the series, they did not appear until the second novel, The Drawing of the Three. So we suppose we can let it slide, which I give him credit for that he's going to let it slide there. That said, it was still weird to see Roland and Jake without the rest of the quartet. Again, that's what you get in the book, like for God's sake, you know, like when you're reading book 1, you're seeing Roland and Jake on their own. Nobody else is there. There's no Oi, there's no Eddie, there's no Susanna.
Fuck.
Like, so yeah,
this is the equivalent of someone complaining about not having a character that was introduced in Harry Potter 5 and Harry Potter 1.
Yeah.
Like, he's not there. He's not introduced until the 5th fucking book, so he's not going to be in it until the 5th fucking movie.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman was introduced in the 3rd. His character was introduced in the 3rd book. I'm not going to see him in the first 2 movies, all right?
That's tragic.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sake, come on.
Yeah, and he says, unfortunately, the Amazon series is looking to be an adaptation of Wizard and Glass, which my first impression is fuck you, unfortunately, because that's the best book in the series.
Bastard!
This means that Susanna and Eddie will probably not be in it, obviously.
Duh.
As they are not part of the prequel story. They're one of the most important aspects of the entire story, and we would absolutely love to see them. I would love to see them too in their right context.
No shit.
If they were shoehorned into the movie,
no,
I would have not liked it. Like it would have made it worse for me because it would have just been like, okay, like the whole movie, we talked about it before, how much better would the movie been if they wish to give him another 20 minutes of screen time to flesh out some things. You know,
you throw in 2 more characters that's just going to take up more screen time. Guess what? You're going to have an even worse time.
Yeah, they're going to be 2-dimensional cardboard cutouts and just nothing but like cheap fan service.
Chris, goddammit.
Yeah. Susanna, no. Eddie, no. But Detta, yes, please. Yeah, that's true. And we I guess we get he also left out Oi, which I guess we can.
Bastard.
Yeah. But see again, like I didn't want to bring this up to. So I guess expectations, what I would say, realistic. Yeah, like he says, we're not going to see Susanna and Eddie.
Right.
Chances are, who knows how long the flashback stuff's going to go. If it's a season, if it's 2. Again, assuming everything gets picked up, of course, I know all that. But
Okay.
what if they go and do book 1 in the second or third season? We might be years from seeing Eddie and Susanna.
True, but
We
he is talking to give him a pass. He is talking about the series, not just season 1.
No,
So I mean, let's give him a pass that if we're looking at the series in its whole, and let's be perfectly honest, Ted, if me and you were given this series to do book 4, and then we decide where to go from there, you better believe that Susanna and Eddie are going to come in at the end of season 1.
It's tough because, like, just filmmaking wise, it's tough
season
because
2. Sorry, not season 1. Season 2.
Because
You finish the Wizard and Glass story, you revert back to the gunslinger, maybe have it where he's telling Allie in bed this or whatever. Or no, he confesses this to the quartet.
Yeah.
But you have it go back to where he's in the gunslinger, he drops Jake, we move on to the drawing of the 3, make that like the mid-season, he drops Jake, that's the big moment. But then like the next 4 or 5 episodes is drawing of the 3.
Yeah.
Could you do drawing of the 3 in 5 hours? 5 episodes, 1 hour each.
And I think I've said all along, I feel like you can do a season that would cover books 1 and 2. I feel like you could.
10 episodes.
Because I wouldn't even cut it halfway. I'd say a third of it would be book 1 and the 2/3 of it would be
3 episodes and 7?
something like that, yeah.
3 and 7?
I mean, we're talking like 12-something episodes, right? For this.
Well, I'm just doing a nice round number, 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So if you do 10 episodes, could you do 3 hours to cover the gunslinger?
Oh yeah, dude.
7
Easy,
hours to
easy.
cover drawing of the 3?
Oh yeah. I think
Me too. I think that would be perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, I would. But what I would say it's for the series is yes, there's hope for Eddie and Susanna, but that is going to be down the road.
Yes.
Like that's not something that we're going to see right away.
Which is
nor should we.
Which is why this is on the bottom of the list. But okay.
Yeah, indeed. So number 8, wrong. Jake's death. Readers of the Gunslinger were undoubtedly shocked by the death of Jake Chambers. Faced with the option of leaving Jake to die and continuing his path, or going back to save him, Roland reluctantly chooses the former. It's a major turning point of the series. It also negatively affects Roland and Jake's relationship later in the series, serving as a major barrier between the two, as you would expect. Of course, there's nothing of the sort in the film. We just got your typical characters move on to their journey and adventures ending. It's lame and predictable, and it's boring. I disagree that it's lame and predictable and boring. I was okay with the way it ended, assuming that because we heard the rumors that there was test screenings that potentially Roland shot Jake.
And fans reacted,
and it wasn't
vehemently against,
and not necessarily fans. I mean, test screenings would just be your average audience.
Yeah, no, that's true. Audience reaction was horrible.
Yeah, and I feel like that also because like having to shoot Jake versus letting him fall. There's a difference
very
there.
different things.
Yeah, that's 2 very, very different things. Even if you set up the whole thing that like Jake's, quote unquote destroying the tower, like that's a tough sell. Again, we talked about this before the movie came out. How the hell are you going to let your lead character? And I'm not saying that I don't want Jake to die because I agree there are some story elements that come into that. But I would agree that I would have preferred to see his death, even if it was meant changing the ending of the movie in a way to allow maybe closer to what happened in the where it was where it was more of a passive Roland action versus like an active, because that's the difference is passive and active, right? Like him aiming a gun and shooting Jake in the head, like that's a very active thing versus like letting him fall as a passive thing.
It's the difference between shooting Jake in the head and chasing Walter as he flees through a door, leaving Jake to die trying to break the tower.
Yeah.
That's a very different scenario there. But that's where I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say that I wholeheartedly disagree that Jake should die.
Yeah.
I'm disagreeing with this one.
Because
in the context of what we had in the movie, with the way that the movie was going, I'm back to what you're saying. I don't think that you can have Roland kill him and come out as the good guy.
Yeah. Because also we're in a new cycle, and as such, Roland has forsaken the tower, and Jake kind of puts him back on the path. So, in a way, aren't you building their relationship in a different way than you built it before?
Again, it comes back to the same questions that we've always had. This is a different cycle. This is not what's going to happen in the books.
Yeah.
And that's where the biggest problem I have is that we still have lists like this coming out 2 years later that are talking about, well, it was such a keystone thing for the characters. And it's like, but we don't have the same characters. We
Yeah.
have the new cycle.
Yeah.
So it's really just not fair. And I know it sounds like I'm copping out and being defensive of the Dark Tower movie, but realistically, we're telling a different story.
Yeah,
We're telling a different chapter.
in a different medium too.
Right, exactly.
It's-
That's the big thing too, is that we're telling it in a different medium. But for me, I wholeheartedly disagree that Jake should have died in the film. At first, my
Okay.
knee-jerk reaction was, yeah, he should have totally died. That is the Jake falling.
yeah,
But you really opened my eyes that there's a difference between letting Jake fall and shooting him in the goddamn head.
yeah,
Like, there's a big difference there. And I think that if you kill Jake, not let him fall, I mean, your inaction kills him.
yeah,
But it's not like Roland pulled his pistol out and shot the kid before he fell.
yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
It's like, oh, well, you're going down. Bang, there. I did it.
yeah,
It's not that.
yeah,
There's a difference there. So for what they were telling and where the story was going, I get why it was changed, because non-Tower fans are going to have a hard time swallowing that your hero just gunned down a kid.
yeah. And
Especially the kid
Chris
that you love.
Chris in the chat says Roland is not a good guy, and I agree with that. But he is your lead character, and I think like that's one of those things. Like I feel like TV is better at giving you a bad person as your lead. Movies, that's a lot harder to do.
Well, I was just saying, like, that's the reason why I had such a hard time with the movie Nightcrawler, is that
Yeah,
who's my good guy?
yeah.
Who's my root?
But, like-
Who's my guy that I'm supposed to be
But
rooting
like for you, like watching Breaking Bad, like
Yeah.
you know, like I guess Jesse kind of like
Jesse was
swings,
definitely
like he breaks good in a way. He has the
Yes.
alternate path. So they give you some, but ultimately your core character of that is a fucking terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, The Sopranos, like there's a lot of shows out there. The Shield, there's a lot of shows that, so I feel like TV, it's almost like because it's a different medium than movies. You know, if you got 2 hours to tell a story, or if you got 20 hours or 12 hours or 15 hours, whatever, there's just different things you can do. And I think like with that, like Roland being more of a bastard is going to be way more. And I know we're on a one talking about the movie, but I think going forward in going into a series, especially one that's not on like network thing, it might have to have any kind of ratings. Roland can be way more of a bastard in the series than he ever would have been able to be in a movie, because a movie's got to hold you, man. Like,
the question I would have for anyone that says that Roland should have killed Jake, how do you spin that for a sequel then? Like the redemption story? Is that what we would go with? And I guess I see a point there now that I say it. That would be a valid point to do. Is can you see the redemption of Roland as being, you know, Dark Tower 2, the redemption of Roland kind of thing?
maybe, but does anyone show up to your movie after he kills
That's
a kid?
the thing.
You know, like,
No, that's the thing, is like, okay, let's go back and look at this in...
because like you just said
in-
Nightcrawler, right? Like you had a hard time because you don't know who to cheer for. How many audience members are going to go, wait, a second Dark Tower movie? Like, fuck, I didn't like that guy.
Exactly.
Like, why would I go watch more?
The
of
example I would give is, okay, let's go back to the very first Iron Man. Let's have Iron Man fucking murder Pepper Potts to kill Obadiah. How many people are going to go back and see Iron Man 2? Like, fuck you, dude. You killed Pepper.
Yeah,
Fuck you, that guy.
yeah. Or if he just like blasted one of the kids like on the freeway.
Oh,
or
yeah,
something,
for sure.
You know? Like just like yeah. I don't know. And Chris also brings up, I think they should have find a way for Jake to say the legendary words, go on or go, then there are other worlds in these.
And that's what your point was.
That is definitely, I would almost say that's a bit, because like he mentions that like there's a lot of like tension between the two characters because of letting Jake fall. I think he's overselling it. I think there's certainly like some riff, but I don't think it's as big as he's making it out to be. And I think that like I would almost say that what Chris is bringing up here with that line is probably the biggest loss of not having Jake die. And that doesn't really work if he's getting shot anyway.
Yeah.
So again, you'd have to restructure the whole ending. But I almost think that losing that again, because it's a line that's maybe not as legendary as the opening line, but it's one of the best
Oh, it's
lines
up
of
there.
the. I mean, it's in our intro, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, I agree with you, Chris. I think that's almost more of a bigger loss than like having the quote unquote issues later on. Like I personally had no issues with the end, honestly. If everything that Jake had gone through during the course of the movie, like his mom,
I think that's
I don't know that I
think that's a
needed
big
to.
changing
I don't.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know that I needed to see him die because like Jake.
That's his fall. There is his mom dying.
Yeah, because Jake is like hates his parents or is so indifferent to his parents in the books that like he doesn't spend a lot of time being like, oh shit, I'm dead, I'm in a new world now, like I worry about my parents. Like no, he's just like fuck them. Like I,
Yeah, he doesn't care.
like the Jake in this though, he has some tension with the stepdad or whoever the fuck it is, but he misses his dad and he does love his mom. Like, it's a different dynamic. That's all, I guess. Like, it's just a whole different dynamic.
That's honestly a good point, because that could be Jake's fall scene. Is that right there? That's where he falls, and that's where he joins Roland. That's where he gets redrawn and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because he was drawn before. I mean, he was drawn in book 1.
Yeah.
And then he fell, and he gets redrawn in book 3.
Yeah.
Well, let's change it a little bit. So he draws Roland instead of him being drawn by Roland. And then he falls, his mother dying, and he gets redrawn when Roland comes to save him. That's Roland. Instead of Roland saving him from the Dutch Hill monster, Roland saves him from Flag.
Yeah.
Walter, sorry, he's not Flag in the Dark Tower movie. But he saves him from the Men in Black.
Yeah.
That's his redrawing. Okay, that's where the quartet starts. If you had book 2 come out on the edge of the Western Sea, fucking sign, movie, the sequel come out on the edge of the Western Sea.
Yeah.
And we hear that there's going to be, we find like something on the beach that says there's, 3 doors. Because let's be perfectly honest. If we're going to do the Dark Tower and we're going to do movies with Walter dead, is he dead?
Yeah.
Is he not dead? Does he show up all of a sudden in Tull? Gasp. He's not dead. A guy came back from the dead. That never happens in movies, right? But especially a bad guy. and so seriously, if you had the second one start on the beach, you're really not changing that much. I think you could still do the drawing of the 3 in a fairly good way. Have them come out right in the middle of a fucking lobstrosity attack. Have Roland get bit, maybe not lose his fingers because of the CGI and everything like that, having to take the fingers off and everything like that.
And you don't want him to have
and I don't want him to lose his fingers. Let's just be perfectly honest. But have him.
He just gets his whole hand bit off. He doesn't have his left hand.
Well, have him get bit saving Jake.
Yeah.
It's not like Jake is going to be that much of an assistant for Roland. He still has to get to the doors.
Yeah.
He still has to deal with Eddie fucking coming off of heroin. And then that just adds one more thing to the data. Do you send Jake, Eddie, and Odetta to the third door? Or do you leave Jake behind with him to care for Roland and send Eddie and Odetta to the next door? And then Eddie comes back without the gun. Oh, great, fucker.
Yeah.
You just add more tension. Maybe Jake plays, the in-between, which would be good for the audience. Honestly, I'm writing the second movie for you guys. Like, seriously, call me. I'll fucking write it for you and make a buttload of money for you. Like, I can fix this.
Okay, so next up is number 7, Hope, more mature content.
Yeah.
Without even hearing his points. Which, yeah, it says, look, we're not sadists here or anything, but the Dark Terror series...
Maybe Tad is.
The Dark Terror series is quite violent. We mean we just told you that Roland literally let Jake die in the novel. Aside from numerous characters' death, the series also contains its fair share of graphic violence. There's nothing worse than seeing a violent and mature story written for adults sanitized to a bloodless PG-13 movie. It's like when Die Hard dropped all the blood and swearing for a greater box office returns, and look what happened to that series. Please, Amazon, make the series for adults. I'm guessing they probably are. The only thing I would say here, because I agree, the only thing I would say in kind of I don't know, to answer back to him, for this is that
the counterpoint.
The kind of a counterpoint is when Dark Tower was made, the whole R-rated can actually be heavily successful was not established yet.
Yes, it was. Yep, fair point.
Like, Deadpool kind of did it a little bit, but like it is like I think the one that really blew the top off, and where now you're seeing a lot of things going. We're going rated R, like that's happening across the board, and I feel like that happened a large part because of what it made.
It was the lead up. It was the lead up that started with Deadpool.
Deadpool was like the toe in the water, right?
It was Deadpool, Logan, and It.
That was like the toe in the water, but like It was the one where people were like, "Holy fuck, that movie just made $750 million."
I will give It more credit when it comes to horror, but I think that Deadpool opened the door just for rated R movies in general. And I think that's where we're going to see more. We're obviously already seeing more, but I think Deadpool opened the door. It's the motherfucker that kicked the door open.
Well, I think because it also the difference of the money it made.
For sure.
I don't know, but I would kind of venture a guess that it may have made more than both Deadpool movies combined, possibly. I don't think Deadpool by any means was $1 billion. Either movie was $1 billion franchise. It was like $750 million.
Yeah.
It was like $750 million. Like that's big fucking cash. Like,
sure.
If you're used to only looking at Star Wars and Marvel movies, maybe it doesn't seem as big, but that's really fucking big.
Chris demands the Tull Massacre.
So I agree. Mature content for sure, but I will give a break to the movie because they were what, a month before it came out, let alone how long until we knew how big it was, right?
For sure.
It took a while to get that 750
We kind of
million.
knew. Well, no.
It had a big first
no,
weekend.
let's be perfectly honest. You've said this already multiple times.
No.
They were dumb for not greenlighting the sequel
No.
because we knew it was going to make money.
Yeah, but I never would have predicted 750 million. That's
You're going against what you've already said.
No,
you said off the trailer alone how many records that broke on like YouTube and everything like that. It was going to be successful. It was going to make a shit ton of money.
750.
And you said it was going to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah, that's way more than a shit ton. Is what I would say. I would have guessed easily in the $300 to $500 million range. Like to add another, $250 million on top of that. Like that's some serious fucking.
How
cash.
much did it make?
I think $750 million range.
Deadpool grossed $783.1 million.
Okay.
So it was up there.
Yeah. But but comic book, like I don't know, it's a little bit different in comic books. But I think that it has really been because like you really saw more happen after it. Like in the last 2 years, you've seen a lot more happen with R-rated stuff than we've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even like if Travis is in here, he can chime in on it. But I know he had to take off. But like even horror movies, like there's a lot more rated R horror movies than there has been in a long time.
Were you talking domestic or gross? Like worldwide or
I
domestic?
don't remember.
Yeah, because domestic for Deadpool was $363 million. Worldwide was $783 million.
Yeah.
So it was, and like I said, I'm not taking anything away from it.
The other thing I would challenge is I would honestly bet that Deadpool opened in China and it probably didn't. So
really, you don't think it did?
I don't know because China only does like 30 to 40 movies a year.
Oh, really?
Like American wise.
I never
So
knew that.
every studio has to pick their battles of what they want to try to get in China, and there's just part of me that thinks it may not be one that I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't feel like as much of a movie that you sell to China as opposed to like a comic book movie with a guy in a bright red suit.
You just got me curious
a
if
bright
it
red
was
suit.
released in China.
Okay, so agreed on that for both of us. Number 7.
Sure.
So number 6, wrong. Roland's time in New York City, and this is where like I'm sorry, dude. No, you like even just reading the headline, I'm like the best parts for me of the movie was Roland's fish out of water stuff, and it's some of my favorite stuff in the books too. You could listen to our book clubs, and every time it comes up, I laugh. This shit fucking I loved in the movie, and he's not a fan. He says some of the most entertaining section of the Dark Tower is when Roland is transported to our world. In his world, Roland is the ultimate gunslinger and a nearly flawless man who is comfortable in his skin and in his quest. In our world, he's like a little child, completely lost, confused, curious, and scared. It helps rip away Roland's ferocity and fearlessness and presents him as a flawed and relatable figure. In the drawing of the 3, he is literally in someone else's skin, a somewhat obvious metaphor for his total lack of security and comfort. And while he does show some trepidation in the movie, he has Jake who helps acclimate him to our world. It's not nearly as funny or as entertaining, and I disagree. I think
there's no way for this. No.
Yeah, this is absolutely.
This is an absolute wrong.
I won't even give like 1% to him because in the books, what I would argue that he's more capable in the books because he has access to the people's minds to understand everything.
Right. He's not just there in person in his body.
Roland
he's in
the
Eddie's
movie,
head.
Yeah, and the Roland or Jack Mort, whatever.
Jack Mort.
But in the movie when it's just him in the city, like there's no filter, there's nothing to explain things to him. He has no way of backing away to to say no, he's in the fucking city.
Yeah.
And it's a city bigger than anything he's ever seen before. Yeah, I don't at all agree. I don't think that it all affected my view of Roland, the way he acted in the city. And like I said, it's some of my favorite stuff in the movie, to be honest.
I think if anything, it made me like him even more because like the girls on the bus, you forgot the face of your father.
Yeah.
Is there more of this? Like when he's talking about like the soda and everything? Like
that's all he has. But the soda, the girls, like, there's just so much.
The hospital. And everything like that.
The animals still speak here.
Yeah, that seriously is like it's great because it's really good because we loved it because it's world building.
Yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
what we want is world building in a first movie. We
Yeah.
want to see world building.
Yeah.
We want to establish characters and everything like that. And I'm sorry, the little jokes like that, you got to have it somewhere in the film.
Yeah.
If you're not going to have it from this, where are you going to get it from?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you'd be writing an article about it was too serious.
Yeah. It was just, yeah.
It just seems like you can't please people sometimes.
Yeah, so I completely disagree with that about as hard as you can. Number 5, Hope, scarier Man in Black, which is quite the picture for him to use because
Yeah.
Mr. Placonin is certainly a scary motherfucker. He says, we have nothing against Matthew McConaughey, but he's not the Man in Black. Many people expressed disappointment in his role as he completely failed to imbue the Man in Black with the necessary mysticism and malice. He was just a slightly creepy Matthew McConaughey. Man in Black is a figure larger than life and needs to be an actor who can do him right. It's tricky, we know, but then again, no one said casting a movie was easy. It was recently announced that the Finnish actor Jasper Placonin was cast as Martin Broadcloak, aka the Man in Black, for the Amazon reboot. You may know him from Vikings or Black Klansman. Let's hope he's up to the task. Now, I would pause and say, he says the Man in Black is a figure larger than life and needs to be an actor, or it needs to have an actor that can do him right. I disagree with that. Find me a time that Flag is larger than life. He comes off as a normal human fucking being.
He's a dude that fades into the background of crowds.
Yeah.
That's not a larger than life character. Sorry,
Yeah.
when you have a larger than life character, Abraham Lincoln, shit like that, they stand out from the crowd. No, the walking dude has always been one who just melts into the background.
Yeah.
He starts the shit. He makes people mad. He's not even the one who gives speeches.
No.
Like, it describes it in The Stand as the guy who wrote the speech, but then
Hides in the background.
Hitler's the one that goes out and gives the speech, not him, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's where, no, absolutely not. He should not be larger than life.
Yeah. No.
Some
of the shit you're talking about is exactly what I was thinking. I'm just
Yeah.
like, no, he shouldn't be larger than life. Matthew McConaughey is perfect for him. He's someone that can just blend in the city. You know, there's nothing that looked weird about him, nothing that looked off. Like,
Nope.
he was just a dude, like maybe in a goth phase, but he was a dude.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is who Flag should be. Like,
That's the thing with Flag is that if the way they described him in The Stand, apparently this guy's never read The Stand, to actually see an actual representation of Flag. He's one that, as long as he doesn't look at you, you don't think twice about him. Like, oh, that dude's wearing a dark cloak. Oh, that's nice. And then he looks at you and your blood runs cold. And then the next second you forget about it.
yeah.
But that's how he is. That's smile. You
Yeah.
know, that's the thing. And I'm sorry, Matthew McConaughey, dude, he nailed that.
Yeah.
Like, kill each other.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
I loved that kind of stuff. Stop Breathing as well.
Yeah.
What
was the one that he did with the little girl? The girl. Hate.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
Hate,
And
and then she just looks at her mom and that fucking
Yeah.
evil, like, Omen-style child shit.
And that actor did a great
Damien.
job, that kid.
Yeah.
And then we got, so Alan's joined us in the chat.
Hi,
And
Alan.
he says, hey guys, I agree a little that Roland's out of fish out of water moments were better in the book, but we got a lot more of Roland interpreting our world in his head, and that's something that they didn't do in the movie. And yeah, and that's
That
also
goes, what you say.
and that's
you
something
can't do that in the movie.
Yeah, you can't do internal stuff in a movie. So, yeah. And then he says, but the jokes were good too. And then Chris says the walking dude's supposed to be handsome. Yeah, I feel like he because there's gonna be something attractive about him to draw people to him a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just disagree. I thought Matthew McConaughey was fine. Now I am personally more excited for Jasper and his performance
For sure.
just because I feel like now I don't know how much he can play more normal, but I certainly think that, like the scene we showed when this was announced, I
creepy.
pulled that scene from Black Klansman. I feel like he can easily pull off the whole, like, your blood runs cold.
Yep.
Like he can do that, and I'm not saying Matthew McConaughey can't. But yeah, I think that Jasper is one I'm looking forward to playing the role of Randall Flagg for
Yeah.
sure. Chris says I laughed so hard with the hate scene. Yeah. Yeah. And then okay, so next up is, and I guess for that, wait, we're on number 5, right?
Yeah, we just did number 5. Now we're on number 4.
Okay, so number 5, I guess what we should say for Hope is I think it's going to happen too. Like in terms of, like, when we're talking about expectations and setting expectations, kind of the reason I wanted to cover this, I feel like this is something we could easily hope for, because now we're going to have a Flag that's going to be in mid-world.
Yes.
And a flag in mid-world is one that's going to be able to act maybe more unfettered in his
Heinous?
flagness.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have to blend into our soft world.
Right.
I think of book 2 and the way Roland looks at our world, right?
Yeah.
Like a sorcerer that can openly be a sorcerer in Roland's world, like that's potentially going to give us a scarier Man in Black, because now we
Right.
might see him turn, guards into pigs or dogs or whatever.
Ugh.
And, it's I think that it's going to be way more potential for that. Plus also, let's face it, when we got 12 hours of show to watch, that gives us a lot of time for a slow burn of let us kind of let him run the gamut a little bit. And I obviously think they're going to increase his role more. So
yeah, let that marinate a little bit.
yeah, indeed. So number 4, wrong. The Men in Black's demise, and you already alluded to this a little bit. The Dark Tower took the story really Hollywood direction, and unfortunately, this meant that the Men in Black received your typical demise. After being wounded, Roland finds the energy and does some goofy Hollywood trick shot to defeat the Men in Black. The end. Come on, seriously, that's just insulting. At the end of the Gunslinger, Roland and Walter sit down for a little chat, and Walter gives Roland a trippy vision of the universe in hopes of proving his insignificance. When he wakes up from the trip, 10 years have passed, and he's sitting next to a skeleton. He believes it to be Walter. We later find out it isn't, and he couldn't have made and it could have made for a gorgeous visual spectacle and a tantalizing cliffhanger. But no, we got some lame trick shot instead. I just don't think that anyone wants to see a 20-minute. As cool as it is in the book, I think that's something that could pass in a TV show. But in a movie, I don't think you can get away with that.
Well,
I mean,
here's my question for the person who wrote this. I forgot his name already. Did you bother to read book 7 to see how Flag died?
yeah.
It's not exactly glorious in a huge fight that was spectacle that's beautiful and everything like that. He gets fucking mind controlled and eaten by a goddamn spider.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck did you expect, dude?
Yeah.
Really, he's going against a gunslinger. If the gunslinger's going to kill him, he's going to get shot. I mean, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I mean,
God.
there's part of me that thinks he's obviously not dead in the movie. If there was a sequel, he would have been in it.
We talked about this.
Yeah,
Didn't we talk about this, that there's no blood?
Yeah, possibly.
I think we talked about that with the commentary. Someone pointed it out that there's no blood on his chest where he was shot. So it's or his head. I can't remember where he was shot, but seriously, you're talking about something stupid for Hollywood, how he dies. He's going against someone with a gunslinger. Okay, so let's not give him powers to deflect Roland's bullets.
Yeah.
So Roland just shoots him. Dumb Hollywood ending.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's Dirty Harry. Do you feel lucky, punk?
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? The build up to it is what it is.
Yeah.
But if Roland can't hit him, he has to do something.
Yeah.
So if Roland can't hit him with a bullet, can't shoot him, how do you propose to kill him? Oh, so you don't want to kill him, you want to leave him alive to be in the sequels.
And have the palaver. I mean, I get it.
That's what you want for that's what you want for an ending over what we got.
I mean, I love it in the book. I just don't know how it fits in, especially the movie that we got, right? We talked about it. The book or the movie could have used another 20 minutes or so just to kind of let some things breathe, but it didn't have that. So where is it going to get, 10, 15 minutes to have this trippy, expensive special effects scene showing the whole universe and having this like most audiences, you're going to lose them because you've just completely anticlimaxed the entire movie.
No, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. It was the flow of a movie and everything like that would be absolutely ruined by having the palaver and the Golgotha as the end.
Yeah.
Have that at the 3/4 mark and then have a climax.
Yeah.
You can't have a good guy versus a bad guy. Especially, okay, so here's my argument, okay?
In a movie. I think in a TV show, it's almost more maybe something you could maybe get because you kind of have this ultimate culmination of whatever. But it's just in an hour and a half movie, probably not.
The only way that I could see this going differently is you don't kill the Man in Black. Roland does the trick shot to get past the Man in Black to destroy the machine, but he had already done that. No, he didn't do that. He did that after he shot him. So you do the trick shot to get past the Man in Black to destroy the machine and save Jake. But how do you get Jake past the Man in Black if you don't kill him?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. The way that they had it set up. So I guess maybe if you look at writing the movie a little differently, I could see where he's coming from. But for me, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, I like you said, I said this earlier. oh, the bad guy comes back from the dead. He's not actually dead.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Loki did it 12 times. It works.
Yeah.
It's movies, guys. It can work.
Indeed. Chris in the chat also brings up a good point. He didn't die. You can hear his whistle at the end of the credits.
That's right.
Yeah, I forgot about that too, as a matter of fact. What am I thinking of? Oh, Halloween.
Chris says, yeah, fuck Mordred.
The new Halloween did that. You heard Michael breathing at the end of the credits, which is pretty awesome. So next up, number 3, Hope, the complexity. As it stands, it looks like the Amazon series will be an adaptation of Wizard and Glass. Fortunately, Wizard and Glass wonderfully serves as a standalone story. Unfortunately, it also is a very long and very complex book, and we hope that Amazon has the guts and intelligence to do it right by the story. It seems like Amazon is all for complex stories, as they're also making Lord of the Rings show, and that certainly can't be easy. And while we have confidence, or while we have confidence in Amazon, we can't help but be a little scared, seeing as how the movie was so butchered and watered down. Come on, Amazon, justify our faith. I think you can expect, because again, it's a series, so like, I feel like it's, again, apples and oranges. Like, to say like a movie didn't give me complexity, I hope a TV show does. Well, fucking duh. Like, there's part of me it's like,
a movie.
Yeah, it's like holding a comic book in one hand and a novel in the other, and looking at the comic book and going, God, I hope this has some pictures in it. Like, fucking duh. Like, it's the nature of the beast, for Christ's sake. So yeah, like, and I think like for expectations, I think our expectations for the complexity is it's certainly going to be there. Sure. I think that so long as they get picked up, obviously, it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, I think like doing Wizard and Glass, like, I think it's going to be a good thing to like start there, let everyone introduce to Roland, the world, and then from there, build everything. Yeah, like look at what Game of Thrones did, for God's sake.
We started small, and we got bigger. Can I nitpick for a second?
Yeah, Chris also has a good point. He says, not the complexity, the weirdness. And I almost think that's a better way to say it.
Yes.
But I think the complexity, because I think that like, I don't think that, because I think the only like maybe backhanded compliment, or not even compliment, but the underhanded thing he's doing here is by saying the complexity. Maybe he doesn't say it in his write-up part, but is he implying that the movie wasn't complex? Because I'm not saying the movie was like by any means like Lord of the Rings level crazy. It didn't have like a 15-minute intro to tell you the fucking backstory, for God's sake, like Lord of the Rings did. But I wouldn't say that the Dark Tower movie was simple by any means.
Would it have been better if the Dark Tower had an intro? Debatable.
Yeah, debatable. Yeah.
I mean, it sets the world pretty well for Lord of the Rings. But if we do this, I mean, honestly, you take a leaf out of Lord of the Rings book and you do a narrator, because that's the thing, is you don't have to have a narrator if you do an intro. Yeah. It's just a narrator for the intro, right? So you do that with Dark Tower, and you do the Man in Black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. Or you do like the intro first. After the fall of Gilead, the last bastion of light, the world descended into chaos. Luckily, the Dark Tower was there to protect us from the outer darkness, or the Prim. I think is what they call it, the Prim. I always forget that. Outer darkness, the Prim.
Prim, yeah.
Toadash darkness. Toadash.
Now, pause real quick.
Yeah.
Stephen King's voice.
Oh, absolutely.
Wouldn't that be the perfect, like, because
he wrote himself into the books.
Because think about it, like in Lord of the Rings, you get the character that she was there for all of it, and like you're gonna see her later, and she's kind of, I wouldn't say like omniscient by any means, but she's a higher plane a little bit than a lot of other characters, so it makes sense for her to be the narrator at the beginning. So why not King? Have King's, let that be his cameo. He could be the one that has the.
Would it be better if it was King or if it was the Man in Black? What if it's the Man in Black? I'm not kidding. I seriously just got chills thinking about that. The last bastion of, you hear Matthew McConaughey, the last bastion of light, and then came the last of the gunslingers were slaughtered at Jericho Hill, and the only thing that stood between the world and Toadash darkness was the tower, and the last gunslinger. The Man in Black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger. So work it out somehow that's the end, that he's the one saying that. Dude, seriously, that's fucking tight. That's really cool.
So what if you played on it? How do you think fans would react if then he like said like, well, at least he thinks so, and then you cut into the scene where he's like entering a door to like pop into the desert, build a little like fire, and then like
fuck with him.
I mean, it would work for Flag. I just wonder how many like Dark Tower fans, like
they would
hardcore,
hate
would
it.
like,
yeah,
would
they would
get,
be like,
like-
they're poking fun at our favorite line.
but it's
I could see it, and I would probably be that way initially, but I think it would work really well if you had Matthew McConaughey, or if you had Walter doing the intro there, the little like summary of what happened to Gilead and everything like that, telling it from his perspective.
yeah,
Because you would fucking eat that up. If Flag was the one that introed what
Yeah.
happened to Gilead, and then I burned it and the fuckers died.
yeah.
All that kind of thing.
And first of all, Chris from Australia joined us. So hey, Chris,
Hey,
glad,
Chris.
glad to have you. And then OG Chris says, then the Man in Black says, all right, all right, all right.
All right.
Oh man. Yeah, so I think that like complexity is certainly something that I would not say it's a long shot to say that we're going to see
sure.
that in the series. So
Yeah.
next up, number 2, wrong. Jake's entry into Midworld. Thing about the Dark Tower is that it adapted various elements from later stories. One of those elements is the portal that transports Jake to Midworld. In the movie, Jake finds a rundown house and finds a portal which he enters without too much of a hassle, which I think that's bullshit because he gets attacked, right? Like, I mean, and the other thing is, like, in the real world, there's a budget, and they didn't have a budget to go way hardcore, but they did do the fucking Dutch Hill Monster, for Christ's sake. So I feel like saying too much of a hassle is kind of bullshit. Like, it's not
what is he mad that they didn't do the demon rape scene in the PG-13 movie? Wonder
Yeah,
why.
with a-
Also with a fucking character that wasn't in the fucking movie.
yeah.
Goddamn, dude. Did this guy read the books?
And he says it's boring. It's certainly more exciting in the Wastelands, the third book of the Dark Tower series. But the other thing here, though, is like, okay, but it's also a fucking culmination of how many pages that leads to that moment, right? Like, how much of the, okay, let's just say you fucking you brought Jake into Midworld, and he came in, and Eddie and Susanna are there.
Yeah.
Everything's going on just like it was in the book. Like, how much is going to be lost by the fact that you as an audience would be jumping in at that moment? You don't have Eddie carving the key. You don't have like the relationship built with Eddie and Susanna. The Roland losing his mind isn't there. Jake losing his mind isn't there. Jake's fucking adventures in New York aren't there. Like, you would lose, like, the whole reason that scene is so fucking incredible in the books is because you built hundreds of pages to get there.
You literally lose drawing of the 3.
Yeah.
If you come in there, you literally lose.
Then
you literally lose the entire drawing of the 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Like all of that, you would have no data.
Yeah.
And let's just be perfectly
that's a
honest,
crime.
that's inexcusable to try and bring that in.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I'm not a Data fan, but I mean, for God's sakes, you can't start there.
Yeah. He says in the novel, the portal is a whole process, and the characters enter a speaking circle. Eddie is forced to quickly carve a wooden key, which no, he isn't. He carves it over the course of hundreds of pages. Susanna sleeps with a demon. No, we're not making that up. And Jake must battle the house itself as it attempts to prevent him from traversing the portal. It's exciting, it's original, and it's a heck of a lot better than what the movie gave us. Again, what more? King had, I don't know. Yeah, King had so much more to build that. Yeah, I feel like this is very unfair to like compare.
Right.
To what he's wanting to be, basically what would be an introducing scene, right? This would be in the first act of the movie. Would be this happening? How in God's name would you do that? Like it's impossible.
Chris has a really good way. Yeah, I didn't like it too. Would be better if Jake died and waked up in Midworld, used the taxi accident.
Yeah, I think possibly. Yeah,
but the other Chris also says the death doorway would have been interesting. Possibly too confusing for a 90-minute movie, though.
Yeah.
Which is a fair point. Which is probably why they went the route of Dutch Hill to make it seem like, okay, well, he's not actually dying.
Yeah.
And there's also the aspect of, okay, this kid that we just introduced, who's supposed to be headlining this movie behind Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey, just fucking died. What?
Yeah.
I think it would go a long way to confusing audiences.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the taxi being the way that he gets to Midworld, but maybe not make him die. Maybe make him just, get knocked and no, that's stupid. Even saying it sounds stupid. Like have him go into like a coma or some shit like that.
Yeah.
No, that's just fucking Days of Our Life shit. That's dumb. But yeah, I don't know how I would do it. Like, but again,
yeah,
the problem I have with this list is it sounds like he keeps jumping back and forth when it fits. That, oh, this is a series that we have to cram into one movie. Oh, this was in this book and we should have gotten that. It seems like he's jumping back and forth between it's a series, it's a book. It's a series, it's a book. Because his whole argument about Jake dying was such a pivotal point of the story. Yeah, in book 1.
Yeah.
It's not a pivotal point anywhere else in the story.
Yeah.
After book 3, that's fucking done, basically.
Yeah.
It's brought up, I think, maybe 3-4 times the entire rest of the series.
Yeah.
That Jake has that thought in the back of his head and everything like that. But the relationship builds on top of that. Okay,
Yeah.
so are we talking a singular book adaptation, or are we talking a series adaptation here?
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, him giving them shit over this adaptation for the entire series of books is bullshit.
Yeah, because
this was supposed to be a building block.
Okay.
They were supposed to make this a series.
Yeah, I think the equivalency would be, you mentioned earlier, like, okay, Tad, like, you know, somebody's gonna like make you make one movie for all of it, an hour and 30-minute movie. Okay, what if even more? What if you had a 45-minute television pilot, and you or not even that, they just gave you, we're gonna give you an hour, which really turns out into 45 minutes. You got to tell the story of it. Go. Like, that's the equivalency of saying like an hour and a half movie to do the Dark Tower series.
Well,
so,
it's even worse than that because there's 7 books.
Yeah. 8,
like,
I mean,
8. Well, we're not counting Wind Through the Keyhole.
Yeah, but I'm
Let's
just
be perfectly honest. 7 books. And he keeps jumping from saying that it's like, well, it didn't do justice to the series. What justice? This wasn't in book 1.
Yeah.
Like, you were just saying that book 1 ended with the Golgotha. We're not talking book 1. We're talking the series, remember?
Yeah.
So which is it? It's like he keeps wish-washing back and forth, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, totally. And then Chris from Australia said, before the one that you read, he says, it's like the first half of the book. You cannot set that up in a quick way, which is exactly what I was saying. And then he also says Dutch Hill was really just one of the many sections of the Dark Tower greatest hits that they touched on, which, I think that's exactly right. Like, so they couldn't give us it the way that it was in the book, but they did give it to us, which again, it's I feel like it's fan service, and not in a bad way, because fan service, in my opinion, isn't always bad. If the movie is nothing but that, then it starts to get a little bit like, come on, all you're doing is just trying to like, it's like the rock stars like, hey, Salt Lake City, and then people get all like, whatever, like,
we love Salt Lake City, man. Your baseball team is so, it's like, dude, we get it.
Which
we're in Salt Lake one time, move on.
So I have to jump back to it. The Book of Mormon musical. So the first time I saw it, fine. Dude, this last time I saw it, dude, there's a few times they mentioned Salt Lake City and people started cheering. I cringed. I'm like, guys, this isn't a fucking like sports stadium or a concert. Like, it's a thing telling a story. Like, don't fucking hoot and holler because they said the name of the city that you're in. It's just nobody did that the first time.
I could just imagine we're in a movie. Me and you are watching the next Avengers movie, and something happens in Salt Lake City. And me and you were both like, yeah, Salt Lake City. And we'd be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. And then Chris also says, I still love Tom Taylor as Jake, which likewise, I do too. I actually was at Best Buy the other day, and I noticed A Kid Who Would Be King, I think is that the name of the movie?
Yeah.
I didn't pick it up, but I want to, and I will throw it out there again because Tom Taylor plays one of the better roles in that movie, and I would recommend anyone that hasn't seen it maybe jump on, your digital service or whatever, maybe rent it or give it a watch, because I think Tom Taylor's a talented kid, and I loved him a lot too. Chris from Australia said that, and I was thinking the same thing as I was like putting this like slideshow together, and like there's a few slides now we've had with him, and I'm just like, God damn it, I wish I could get more of him as Jake, because I loved what he did with it. So so then number 1, Hope, More Than Wizard and Glass, which again just kind of feels like roll your eyes a little bit, because of course we all hope for more than just the one.
No shit, Sherlock.
But he says like we've said, it seems as if Amazon series is adapting Wizard and Glass, which it doesn't seem. It is what they're fucking doing. But we hope it turns into something much, much more. Unfortunately, the Dark Tower series seems to be in a weird place. While Amazon is producing the sequel series, the Drawing of the Three will be made as a sequel to the first movie. Okay. No, that's not happening. There is no sequel movie in the works. So does that mean the Amazon series is a companion piece? It was originally going to be, but again, that obviously changed with the lack of massive success at the box office of the first movie. So now the series is all that exists.
It's a completely different studio.
And it's not a companion. No, MRC is still involved. Amazon's obviously one, but MRC still kind of involved. So
Amazon wasn't involved in the film, though.
No. But what I'll say is it's not a companion piece to his what he's saying here, because it's not anymore, because we've talked about Glenn Mazzara had that tweet that we shared where he's like, wait, there was a movie? he's being somewhat cheeky, but that pretty much tells us though that as Glenn moves forward into the series, he is not at all looking at the movie as anything that exists. So like, it's not a companion piece. It's the Dark Tower now. What we have in any hope of for the future is this series being an adaptation of it. And he says, it is, is it its own thing? We don't really know, which yes, we do. And even if this series is strictly sticking to the prequels, we really wish it wasn't. The sort of expansive story is much better suited for television than film, especially if the films are going to be, or let's see. Yeah, never mind. That's basically what he says there. Yeah, I just don't get with this one. This one just feels weird to me. It just doesn't even feel like it's thought out because like he doesn't know that there's not a sequel to the movie. And then he like thinks it's a companion piece, but then he also like has some thought that maybe the series is only going to be prequel stuff, which like I don't know. Like I don't know. Yeah, it's. But again, I guess what I would say for hopes is so long as and realistic expectations, so long as Amazon greenlights and gets us our first season, I mean, ultimately it'll come down at that point to the success or failure of how many people are subscribed to Prime and watch the series. Yep. So, and right now Amazon's on a hot kick. They just got The Boys, which is one of the hottest things out right now.
Is it?
Oh, yeah,
I've even seen the trailers for
people have been hyping the hell out of it all across the internets.
To your point about greenlighting the Dark Tower, I got to give Chris a shout out. Hashtag greenlight the Dark Tower.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So ultimately, the ultimate hope is like it all comes down to the realism. That's the unfortunate thing with TV is sometimes things end. I know we've mentioned on the show before the OA was like very Dark Tower-esque. I still haven't gotten into the second season, but that got canceled, and it's unfortunate. But it's like that is the reality of what is happening. So we may only get one episode. We may only get one season. Who knows? But all I could say is I'm happy if we get one season because at least gives us a shot at catching people's attention and potentially becoming like the next Game of Thrones, as we've talked about repeatedly. Hopefully can happen. So that is it for that article. We're getting close to time, but we actually I want to hit on this casting thing here.
Updates.
So yeah, we got a casting update. So it's gonna be a little bit of a longer episode. So yeah, when in Rome. So yeah, newest person that we get are bringing into the Dark Tower series according to IMDb, and this is actually another mystery man. No role given. It is. Is it gonna click there? Let me. Oh, I have it set up there. Okay. His name is Frankie Fox. Let me give you some information. He just turned 22 a week ago. You can see him in theaters now, currently, with the film Blinded by Light, which is originally debuted at Sundance and was purchased for wide theatrical release. It's basically like at a certain, like, I can't remember if it's the 80s, late 80s, with a kid in England. And basically the whole film is kind of structured around Bruce Springsteen music.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's in that. You can see him there. But most of his work appears to be TV. Prior to that, and almost all of it seemed to me, was UK. So, then on Twitter, when I tweeted this out, Dark Tower Junkie, which sometimes joins us in the chat, not in here currently, on Twitter pointed out and called. Do you have any predictions before we get into this?
Cuthbert or Alan.
Okay. And Dark Tower Junkie pointed out and says he's called out Alan because Christopher Johns, Alan's father,
of the red hair,
is being played by a redhead, Tim Chipping, which is the gentleman here, which we've covered before. So we already have a redhead. So Alan is probably the likely one. And then I actually went through and found him on Twitter, and actually found, sadly, that somehow I didn't catch this, like looking through hashtags, which can be tough because there's a lot on hashtags. But he actually tweeted some time back. It was May 3rd, so
damn,
a little while ago. He says, long days and pleasant nights, and then a little film making emoji, hashtag the Dark Tower, hashtag actor, hashtag Stephen King, hashtag announcement. And the picture is him on horseback. So, so apparently that was full on announced. Now, in the comments, he said, he was asked about what role, and he says he is not allowed to announce that. However, there is some sleuthing to always be done.
Tad and his sleuthing.
And somebody actually, because I actually got this flagged on one of my email things. And then I actually jumped over just to see if it was on the subreddit for Dark Tower, and it was on there too. So
Okay.
definitely other people must have caught it. But it is the talent agency that represents Frankie, and they have listed his role.
Hey.
Alan Johns. So he is indeed playing Alan. 22 is his age, but he definitely doesn't look that age. So, I think we heard they're aging them probably into the 16 to 18 range, if I remember right, which I think
Easy.
Sam Strike is probably in the same
Yeah.
age as Frankie here, pretty close, but they both can look younger than they actually are. So that's pretty cool. Now, there's another thing you might notice on here. There is a director listed.
Wait, where?
On the...
Oh, Stephen Hopkins?
Yep. So that is kind of a news break as well, because we have had not heard of a director.
Oh.
So presumably this is just for the pilot, but it's hard to say. But yeah, with this being listed, I don't know. I think what happens is that people list the director because then if like a director knows another director and like they worked with them, it's kind of like a thing where like, hey Peter, you're a director, I'm a director. I'm looking at an actor. Oh, he worked with Peter. Ring. Hey Peter, you worked with this guy. What do you think of him?
Sure.
Type thing. So I think that's the whole premise. But because of this, it's tipped our hand of who the director is going to be, presumably again for the pilot. So Stephen Hopkins, going through his IMDb, most recently he directed 3 episodes of 24 Legacy a few years back. And he hasn't done anything since. So 2017 he's been out of not out of work, but he hasn't been working in the directing side in a couple of years. I think he had some production stuff. He's done 24 episodes of House of Lies for Showtime, which is starring Don Cheadle and Kristen Bell. Not one I'm familiar with. 3 episodes of Californication. I believe that has the dude from The X-Files in it.
David Duchovny.
Yeah, that's the one. Mulder. I mean, let's be honest here. He directed the first 12 hours of the first season of the original 24.
Oh.
Which is impressive to me, because with television production, a lot of times they alternate directors. Like Game of Thrones, for instance, it's very rare to see the same director back to back because there's so much work going on that like whatever. So this dude filmed 12 episodes that are the first 12 hours of the day. It isn't even like spotted. Like it's just like from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., which is like it starts at midnight for the first season. So it's like, he directed the whole first half of the first season, which is impressive. And it also gives us an idea. So he is a veteran. He was brought in for the new 24 Legacy. So it kind of gives us an idea of maybe what kind of chops he has. Also, the fact that he obviously Showtime with House of Lies, Californication, 24. He has some TV experience.
That makes me happy that he directed 24, because that's a really good show to have under your belt.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a Dark Tower series, because there's not just action in 24.
No.
There's drama, there's character building and everything like that. As much character building as you can get in a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is that show does restrict you to that it is a 24-hour period. Yeah, real time. But that makes me happy, because there is a balance there in that show. And I've only watched part of the first season, but there is a balance there that I know of. I know you're a fan of it. You got the big 24 box set up there on your shelf.
Yeah.
And if there is a balance there between not only just like the action, but also like the suspense, the drama, and everything like that with it.
Yeah, indeed. Next up, he directed the 1998 film Lost in Space with Gary Oldman and a bunch of other people.
1988?
1998.
98. I've seen that movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think I did too, unfortunately. But
it's not that bad. It was a kid's movie, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
But I had to at least pat myself on my back for the line I did there. Gary Oldman and a bunch of other people.
Come on. I know one other actor that was in that movie.
Who?
Matt LeBlanc.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think is it William Hurt? There's another really big actor in it. But I can't remember if it was William Hurt. Maybe that's wrong. But either way, it's just my Gary Oldman fanboying. That's all. Yeah. He's the man. Yeah. He also did 3 episodes of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh.
He also did Nightmare on Elm Street #5, but I won't hold that against him.
What was the 80s?
Yeah. Now the big one, the creme de la creme, in my opinion, of what he's done, is one that I love personally, but it's maybe not as well regarded across the board. But I feel it's one of the most underrated things. I love it. Predator 2.
No shit.
He directed.
I fucking love Predator
yeah,
2.
me too, man. Now I'm not gonna like compare it to the original because
No.
the original is like one of the greatest movies of all time. But dude, I fucking love Predator 2. I always have.
Want
And-
some candy?
Dude, but it's one that like people never give it the credit. Like it never get like, and I'm not saying it has to get the same credit as like Aliens, or Terminator 2 in the realm of like those like iconic franchises with the second movie. It isn't that like, but dude, it's a damn good movie, and I yeah.
I mean,
so
come on, it's got Bill Paxton getting killed by another alien.
yeah, exactly.
Sign me up.
Yeah, so I that got me a little bit giddy when I read that. So like just to show he's got experience across the board,
Yeah.
done a lot of TV. So he's not a new guy when it comes to doing television work, but he's also done some Hollywood movies, not as many. So yeah, that's pretty cool, I think. So here's our snapshot of the cast now, adding Frankie in there, again with no role. So we still have our mystery men is now up to 3. So yeah, we got Ivan K, Michael Roker, and theoretically Frankie is mystery man.
Mystery.
I guess it really counts. Depends on how you look at it. Pretty much we have as official of a leak as you can possibly have, but it's not made official and officially announced or listed on
That's
IMDb.
true.
So again, not that IMDb is official. I know I've pounded that drum a lot. So, okay, I am going to. I had some. Or we got odds and ends. Let me hit a couple of these. So Josh Boone, first of all, was confirmed that he's directing all 10 episodes of The Stand.
Nice.
I don't think we'd had that confirmed yet. Also, in the show notes, check. We'll have a Mr. Mercedes season 3 trailer is finally out. So
I
have
haven't
that
even
linked.
watched season 2.
Yeah, I mean, neither. It's coming out pretty soon on the home videos, though. And then we also have a tweet from Mike Flanagan about Dr. Sleep. And here's the tweet. He says, Dr. Sleep has officially been rated R by the MPAA for disturbing and violent content, some bloody images, language, nudity, and drug use. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, again, talking about rated R earlier,
Rated
we got a rated R for Dr. Sleep, which is really exciting. So yeah, that's really cool. And then last up on the odds and ends, Vanity Fair has hired Anthony Bresnikan. So congrats to Anthony on that. I think it's a great.
That's right. He left Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They downsized a little bit.
Vanity
so.
Fair.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
that's
That's
good.
good. That's
it's a good
good.
one. A good pickup for them.
Would you count that as a step up?
I don't know.
Lateral move?
I don't know how it gets looked at.
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to look at Vanity Fair probably more than Entertainment Weekly, but
I've always thought Vanity Fair was a prestigious publication.
yeah.
I mean,
So
they publicized that Tony Stark was Iron Man. So I mean, they have some chops.
So yeah, I can't wait to see his coverage on because he tends to cover a lot of the things I
Yeah.
love. He does a lot of Star Wars, a lot of Stephen King. So I'm really excited to see
Hopefully
what he has
still
for
does
us.
for Vanity Fair. That'll be really
Yeah.
awesome to get his hookups with those series.
Yeah.
That's nerd stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I had some Palaver stuff, but because we have an email quota that we're gonna hit real
We still
quick. So I'm
gotta
gonna
do an email.
I'm gonna skip some the Palaver for now, but I have some good topics to talk about, I think, in the future. But we'll save that for another episode. So jump on over to the emails. And let me jump over to the other sheet where I have said emails. And we actually have on the top of the mailbag here is Chris from Australia.
Oh.
Or wait a minute, hold on. Did we actually do this one?
Oh.
About the differences in book 1 from the original publishing, or do we not? The problem with me is I read these fairly often in terms of like to keep like everything up to date, so like it gets tripped out in my mind whether we've read them or not. It's basically he's comparing the 2003 Gunslinger to the original in terms of some interesting things that he found, or have we not covered that?
Oh, that does not sound familiar.
Okay, cool. Then we have.
Also, I'm doing it for the fans. Are we not doing the jingle?
Sorry, I'm so
Flustered with time.
well. No, they're just trying to move things over and stuff.
Oh.
And then also suddenly thinking that maybe we already read this email.
Chris put it in the chat. Wait. Where's Peter singing? Emails. It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
No, that's not getting deleted.
God damn it.
I don't even remember where that was at in the pantheon of the show.
I know where it was. It
Yeah.
was back before we even started doing, like, we hadn't even done our first live show.
Yeah.
We were literally at your old house.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
It was
if
at the old house. We were recording, And it was back when you would edit the show, so we would have like, wait, hold on, and we would actually have like conversations like off mic, basically, be like,
Yeah.
are we gonna go this way? Are we gonna go this way? Where we would kind of like plan it, and you were doing something along the lines of like what's happened before, where you're like, wait, it's not pulling up. Why is it not pulling up? Hang on, let me get this to pull up, and then I'm like, I just busted out this song emails, and then you're like, you just turned to me and you just went, you know, it's got
Okay. So yeah, I mean, nowadays we're just like, fuck it, we'll do it live. You know?
Everything's live.
Which I like, though. I do like. I like having the live chat, but I also like having just kind of the more. I feel like it feels more organic a lot of times.
Chris said in the chat, "F yeah." he literally put the letter F. I'm not like censoring. I'm not censoring him. No.
Oh man. Okay, so Chris from Australia, which I think is still in the chat. He says, "Hi, Ted and Peter." Hi. And he says, I was listening to Gunslinger 2003 the other day and just came across a passage which I found curious. It happens just as Roland starts listening in on Sylvia Pittston in the church in Tull. And then he says, here's a quote from the book. It says, "My dear brothers and sisters in Christ," it was a haunting line. For a moment, the Gunslinger felt mixed feelings of nostalgia and fear, stitched with an eerie feeling of deja vu. And he thought, I dreamed this, or was I here before? If so, when? Not Magus, no, not there. He shook off the feeling. And then he says, why was Roland experiencing deja vu here? It sounded like something Stephen King had included as foreshadowing in the 2003 version of the books, hinting at Roland's subconscious knowledge of the time loop he is trapped in. Mm-hmm. So I checked my recently purchased original edition. He says, sadly, not a first edition. It only cost me $5, which nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, first editions are certainly some of the most sought after King things. And he said, and then he goes on and says, and the reference is there, although some wording has been added in the 2003 edition. Here is from the 1980 version. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, it was a haunting line. For a moment, the Gunslinger felt mixed feelings of nostalgia and fear, stitched in with an eerie feeling of deja vu. He thought, I dreamed this? When? He shook it off. So it's just, the addition is the Magus stuff.
Yeah. Is there more?
Oh, he has more stuff. But,
okay, go ahead.
He says, even though it was more of a brief passage in the 1982, it's still there. So why is Rowling having feelings of deja vu at this moment? It suggests to me that King had a notion of Roland's fate and time loop, even back when he originally worked on the story. King has always claimed that he didn't know if Roland would ever reach the tower, but this passage suggests to me that he may have had some idea of the overall arc from the beginning. And that's something I've always wondered, because I know King, and he has the story about the people, like the lady that was dying and stuff. But I've always felt like he maybe knew some brief things, like there is a repetition or something, but he didn't know how it all worked mechanically enough to explain it to someone that's dying, right?
Sure.
And say yes, Roland is going through he's basically in purgatory.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't he knows that, but he doesn't know enough to say there's so much involved that he probably didn't have fleshed out yet.
Also, let's I'm going to play devil's advocate here. How do we know that has anything to do with the loop?
No, that's true. But
deja vu could be just anything that's happened in his life.
Yeah,
and he doesn't know that he's necessarily in a loop for that. I'm sorry if I have a feeling of deja vu. I'm not going to instantly go, am I stuck in a purgatory loop of hell?
No, but I think it's not that. It's not even the deja vu. It's his line saying, I dreamed this when he shook it off. So I think it's it's oh, I had a dream about this. When did I dream about this? Yeah.
That's not necessarily, I'm not going to jump to conclusions and say loop. I think what this would be in the original version is King leaving himself an open. That's a really cool throwback that some authors do, is where they'll leave you an open. They'll mention something in passing and then come back to it in later chapters or even later books. A lot of really good authors do that. King is one of them. He does it several times here in the Dark Tower series. That's probably what he's doing here. Is he's leaving himself an in that if you find something later while he's writing, he can come back and reference and tie it together, which is so nice to do when you bring those things. And they're like, it was in book one. Look at that. All the way back to book one. We're throwing back.
Yeah. I mean, possibly. I think that there is maybe a possibility he had some inclination of something, but who knows? I mean, I just always suspected that, I don't know. There's just part of me that feels like because even early on, there's one of the books, 2 or 3 that, in the is forward or is afterward, where he basically says, or I think it's the afterword of one of them, where he basically says, I think it's going to be 3 or 4 more books, and it's and it was dead on. It's 3 or 4 more books, and I think it was book 3 or so. So it's he pretty much knew that there's 4 more books. okay, you're talking decades before he even gets there. Like,
yeah.
so I just feel like he maybe knew more than he ever let on. Not that he knew everything, but that I think there was some elements of like overarching, like if he's doing like Lord of the Rings, his version of Lord of the Rings, right?
The ring,
I know the stand does that.
The ring ends up in Mordor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that doesn't tell you the story of how it got there.
Exactly.
And what happens along the way and what happens even there.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I've always
suspected. He knows that Roland's going to get to the tower, but what's going to happen, what causes, what's after, what's before, he doesn't know all of that.
Yeah.
And he actually covers that in the stand intro, is that when you're writing, you start with an idea.
Yeah.
And then you usually come up with an ending.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking about characters and plot ideas and scenes.
Yeah.
But usually when you get to the ending, it's usually not the ending that you had first imagined.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I think that's what he's talking about here, is that, yes, I had an idea. Did I have an idea of Roland being stuck in like purgatory and everything like that? No. I'm wholeheartedly against that. He knew when he said there's 3 or 4 more books that he knew where he was going to end that series. Because he's admitted it himself in his, I really think it is the stand, that when you start writing, you have an ending in mind. And 95% of the time when you get to the ending, it's not the same.
Yeah. But I wonder if like something like, I don't know, like I said, maybe it's like even a more vague version of it, but I wonder if he had something in mind. I don't know. It's tough to say. And then Chris goes on and says, additionally, if this is foreshadowing, then it may suggest that Roland doesn't always loop back to the same location in his journey. For if he experienced deja vu in Tull, then he must have looped back to that point before Tull on at least one occasion. But in the books, we only see him looping back to the Mohaine Desert, which is after Tull in his journey.
That's a fair point.
Remember how the story of Tull is told in flashback of a flashback? So that's even true, too. So there shouldn't be deja vu because of the loop, unless the loop is changing, which
I don't think we ever get a perfectly explained that is true.
No, exactly. So like, and I think that's something I think is totally up for interpretation, and I've never interpreted it beyond that exact moment is where the loop begins.
Because we talked about the bubble.
Yeah,
like this is the start of the bubble. The end of the bubble is him going to the top of the tower.
Yeah, and in that moment's when the loop's back. So I don't like having a moving like area for the loop. That's a new idea for me, and my first impression is I don't like it.
But it's new. But I like it.
Then again, there's a lot of stuff now that I accept that I wasn't too fond of when I first
book 4.
Well, not even that, but even like some of the like the ideas of like things like some of my first times I thought about some of these like ideas I now hold pretty strongly about the ending. I was not fond of when I first had the thought of, oh fuck that, no, like
Yeah.
But then as time goes, so I'm not saying I don't like it and that's the end of it. I'm just saying I don't like it as a new idea right now, but that doesn't mean it won't.
I'll throw it out there. I love it.
Yeah.
Because that opens up the door for the horn.
Yeah.
That we've talked about. How does he bend down and pick up the horn if it's starting at the desert?
Outside of like divine intervention.
It's outside of the bubble. We've talked about it. Yeah. It's outside of the bubble. It has to be like divine intervention. Well, what if the loop starts there this time? So he has to go back and relive Jericho Hill that time. Special screw you, Roland. Special extra punishment for what you did on this loop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Depending on how big of a bastard he is getting to the tower is how far back he has to go.
Yeah.
Maybe because going to this level, this run of the tower, he was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But he didn't shoot Eddie the first time the dude whined,
Yeah. And the other thing too is like Jericho Hill's not even that like big of a moment. I mean, it's a big moment, but it's not that big of a moment in terms of for Roland.
Right.
The bigger moments are Susan, are his mom. Those are things that happen before that.
Grapefruit.
So if the loop were to go back to Jericho Hill, that wouldn't upset the things that make Roland. Those things would still exist. Like he still would have shot and killed his mom.
Yeah.
He still would have lost Susan basically by choice.
He would have gone into the grapefruit.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Would have still happened. The only difference is what does the horn change?
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like maybe that's where the divine intervention is coming into play. Is it's like, I could see that being the play. Is that the bad entity is like, haha, we're gonna screw you over. Go relive Jericho Hill, and then you see the good entity pick up the horn.
Yeah.
And that's the saving thing. That's the saving grace.
Yeah.
Who knows, right?
But I always felt that like the picking up the horn was like divine intervention in a way of like it almost allowed like the more redeemed Roland.
Yes.
to transpose that onto the Roland that's at Jericho Hill, because it does take like emotion to grab that horn, because there's no practical reason to grab it.
Nope.
So your Roland at the beginning of book 1 wouldn't fucking care.
Nope.
You know, like that Roland. But like the Roland at the end of book 7 would most likely pick it
Would
up.
have absolutely picked it up.
So I feel like it's almost like a show of like his evolution or his closer to. That's how I view it. Doesn't mean it's set in stone by any means. And he says, of course, given the complexity of the original series of flashbacks, this could have just been a mistake on Stephen King's part, but I still find it thought-provoking. And yeah, I think we've
already proven that is.
We definitely agree. Which, isn't it funny how often the ending comes up?
I swear to God, it's like every round table.
Yeah, which is fine, but yeah, it does. It comes up all. That's why whenever I do the spoiler warnings, I always laugh because I'm like, the ending comes up a lot
every time.
Finally, there's another deja vu moment I found, but this one appears only in the 2003 edition of Gunslinger, and it's still part of the Sylvia Pittston sermon/rant, and it goes, "It's him that stands behind every fleshy pleasure, him who made the machine with Lamarck stamped on them, him, the interloper, Lamarck the gunslinger thought, or maybe she said Lamarck. The word had some vague resonance for him, but nothing he could put his finger on. Nonetheless, he filed it away in his memory, which was capacious. As this is only in the revised 2003 edition, I presume this is intentional foreshadowing of the time loop. I've checked, and Lamarck is mentioned in the books 2, 3, 4, and 5, but nowhere in book 1. But again, it's occurring in Toll, which is outside of the loop that we were shown in the books. So that's definitely interesting to look at. And he says, I mentioned this online in a Facebook group, and one person suggested that although Toll is outside of the time loop, his reminiscence of Toll is within the time loop. So perhaps that is the reason it is still triggering deja vu for him. This seems like a fairly reasonable explanation to me, but I prefer the idea that perhaps the start of the time loop might vary with each turn of the wheel. And then he signs off, Long Days and Pleasant Nights, Chris from Endworld. And
Thanks,
I think that I'm going to have to definitely chew on that more. And I remember even when I put this in from the email into like the thing, I remember thinking like, I'm not necessarily like super into it right away, but like, I don't know, that's an interesting thought, and like, God, it opens up a lot of possibilities if that
well, I mean, let's be perfectly honest. Him
changes.
Jumping into the loop is in the Mohaine Desert that time. That doesn't necessarily mean that Toll didn't change how it happened. We already have one example of the past before the loop changing. That's him picking up the horn.
Yeah.
So Toll could change every single time. Maybe he doesn't shoot Allie.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't break Sheb's wrist, you know?
Yeah.
There's lots of different things that could change without it actually having to go back to that point. We see one example of him having the horn is that the past before the loop can change.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just that just because he's going back to this point in the time, the start of the loop, that doesn't necessarily mean the things before that are set in stone and they can't change and they're rock solid. They could be in flux too, based off of who Roland is when he's sent back.
Yeah.
This Roland, if he had been living that timeline, this would have happened.
Yeah.
So is there a big enough change to where he doesn't kill his mother?
Yeah.
Ooh. There you go. There's the food for thought for tonight.
Indeed. So yeah, that's extra bonus episode this time. But yeah, let me hit the outro stuff, and we will sign off. And I will be making a trip down, try to visit Randall Flagg in Las Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas.
Sorry, I'm losing my mind here. First of all, if you want to subscribe to us or rate and review our shows, if you could do that on Apple podcasting service, we'd appreciate that. We'll take it anywhere across the board, but Apple is certainly the big one. You can stream us on Stitcher. You can find us on pretty much any podcasting service. Check out the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. All the stuff we covered in this episode will be on there. I need to go add in the one thing that I missed.
That's right, don't forget.
But I will get that added in, and everything should be out there on the Dark Tower Palaver. Like I said, like a lot of you guys might be waking up Friday morning to an episode that you weren't expecting. Show notes will all be there, so check them out, darktowerpalaver.com. If you want to engage with us, Peter can tell you about that.
Best way is to email us. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And also follow us on the Twitter. It's @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. We stream all of our shows live. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. The roundtables stay up. You can go back and watch all the ones that we recorded on YouTube. Book clubs do get taken down. We don't post them due to copyright issues.
Yeah.
But check that out. Again, that's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and ring the bell. that lets you know when we're going live. So when you get off episodes such as tonight, it would have notified you that we were going live.
You know, I finally did that, and I just got a notification today when the episode started. I'm like, what the hell is my phone going off for?
Like,
And I looked, I'm like, oh, Dark Tower's going live.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's really good to know. I don't know if I would have known that without it. So
Smart ass.
I just looked it up too because I completely forgot because it's been a long time since we recorded. It feels like now. Even though for people in the podcast world, I had our episode that we recorded early drop kind of normal time, but that was actually a book club. So we have next time we'll be back for a roundtable in a couple weeks, and I think we're on back to the same bat time, same bat channel, right?
Yeah.
For next episode.
Next episode will be in
September. Where are we at here? Let's see, we're on the 29th, so that would be the 14th.
I am going to be very, very tan.
Yeah,
the week before that, just for you guys, I am going on my very first cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, going down to Mexico.
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, that's gonna be fun. But it's an off week, so
yeah,
I'm not throwing the show off this time.
Won't throw the show off. But yeah. So be with us there on the 14th. A lot's gonna happen in that time. It's gonna be coming out, so I guess we'll probably have to say that we're gonna talk about it, chapter 2 in that episode.
If I've seen it.
Oh, you will. That's the 14th. That's like 10 days after it comes out.
I'm going to be gone for an entire week during that time.
No excuse.
I'll see you down in Mexico. I'm not it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, chances are we'll be talking about that. So if you want to shoot, I know we're at the tail end of the episode. People may not be listening. If they piece out for the closing info, but if so, shoot your emails with your responses to it chapter 2. I almost said chapter 3, and we will read those on the episode. And until next time, we'll say as we always do: long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
And you guys in the chat, thank you guys for joining us. We had a number of people throughout. Travis,
both Chris's.
Yeah, but I'd
Panzer.
say 2 of the Chris's. We've had some others that have emailed in.
Oh, that's true.
Over
We have so many Chris's.
Yeah, Panzer, and then Alan was in here. I'm just kind of scrolling back through. I don't think I missed anyone.
No,
that's it. Thank you guys for everyone for being part of the chat for this long episode, and we will see you next time.